Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's a guy who gets more caffeinated than Cody on reward on the daily. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Survivor recap here for an incredible, unforgettable Final Six episode of Survivor. And we have such a treat here for you today because I am so happy to welcome back one of the great guests here that I get to talk to here on Rob Has a Podcast. Please welcome in the great Jamal Shipman is here. Jamal, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, Rob Cesternino? What is the deal? Thank you for welcoming me back. I feel at home. I feel like this is just a beautiful seasonal fun time you and I get to have.
Yes. And what a great show we get to talk about. What a blessing.
Yes. I was very excited. I was actually talking to one of your producers earlier, and I was like, he gave me 3 dates to choose from, and I was like, given my track record, I better choose right because I've talked to you after some intense episodes.
Yes, that we'll say important episodes of the show, but not necessarily fun episodes of the show. But here, we get nothing but candy this week.
Oh my gosh, this is all fun.
3,000 calories of Danish.
And I know exactly what that reward is because I actually had that reward back in my day, and which feels like forever ago now. Can you believe that I'm in the 30s and now we're like well into the 40s?
Old school. Yeah. Okay. Well, I do want to talk about that reward. I got a lot to unpack here as we go through. I just, it's been so fun today. I've really enjoyed this because, like we've talked a lot about, the issues with the new era and, the problems and, are people as engaged with the source material? But this felt like a throwback today. And I just have sensed a buzz around Survivor today that I haven't really gotten all season. And so it's been so nice.
Well, a throwback in a new way though, right? Because they're all super strategic players and they're throwing out the same tropes about being a threat and all of that. But I think there's just a comfort that these players have with doing the cutthroat moves needed, right, in this new era to get yourself forward that I feel like you had so much resistance to that kind of play, back in the day. But they're just right there. In that way, I actually think Cody was an old school player.
Yes.
Because there was a little bit of, not as much experience with the game as maybe some of the others. And so you just kind of got that very raw, very human a view into what it's like for someone to actually just be plucked from society to play this crazy game. It was actually a treat. It was a beautiful thing to watch him play the game.
Yeah, it was really, really fun to have Cody on the season. He is out of the game. I had the chance to speak with him. I think we're going to spend some time talking about my exit interview with Cody. So if you missed that, if you even want to come back and then rejoin us after you listen to my conversation with Cody, I think there was some really important information there. Also, just to set up on Friday, I will have a feedback show with Mike Bloom coming up Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I believe that one is going to be. And we'll get into Survivor Academy this weekend as Alex G, creator of Survivor Philadelphia, the Black Widow Brigade, will join me for a patron-only show talking about all of the information that future players can learn from watching these players play over the last couple of weeks. So we'll have episode 4 of Survivor Academy for season 43. Jamal, outside of Survivor, how's life? Good?
Life is good. I'm in year 4 of working for Veracross, a school information systems company, as an admission product area consultant. All those words mean nothing to most people, but it means a lot of things in my industry. And I'm just having the time of my life. I just get to basically feel like I'm playing a video game all day, just on computers, zooming around the world, talking to schools all around and helping them improve their systems. So it's a good thing. It's a good time.
Okay. Well, happy to hear that that's going well. I got to see you back in May when we had the live show. It was really cool that your dad was out there for the live show. He was such a big hit.
I know. Well, so I know this audience is probably familiar with the role my dad has played in my Survivor experience. He's such a fan, and he's much more a fan of other players than he is of me. So he'll like call me and he'll be like, "Oh, when are we going to the next watch party? I hear Bryson Wendell is going to be in Boston. You want me to come up?" I'd be like, "Well, I'd love for you to come up and see me. You know, maybe we can have brunch or something." He's like, "No, I want to see Bryson Wendell. Yeah, that'll be good." So
Wow.
he's a big
Oh,
fan. He's a big hit amongst the Bryson Wen watch party community.
yeah. Did you all go out for the party that they did in Boston?
So I was at the watch party in Boston. My dad, by himself, without me, was at the watch party in New York. So yeah, he's plugged in. But yeah,
is
I went to. Go ahead.
is that must be so awkward, and maybe not, but I just feel like that, like if my mom was going to like Survivor events without me, like I don't know how I would feel about that.
Yeah, well, here's this really cool connection that he has. I'll tell you two quick connections that he has. So a few years ago, he was in the hospital for nothing serious, but he just was in the hospital. And turns out when he woke up from what he was doing at the hospital, he was looking at Cerie Fields as
Oh.
his OR nurse because she works in the hospital that he got treated at. And so just off the cuff, he was just talking because he was a little bit loopy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my son Jamal, he was on Survivor, blah blah blah." And Cerie goes, "Survivor? I was on Survivor." And Cerie, she's queen, one of the queens of Survivor. So I just thought that was so funny that they connected at the hospital. And then my dad works at the Hoboken homeless shelter
Hmm.
in New Jersey, whose brother, I forgot the exact connection, but something about the brother of Mike, firefighter Mike,
Yeah.
works in as a fire chief in Hoboken. So they had actually come across each other in their work together. So my dad's more plugged in than I am at this point.
He's tapped in.
Yeah,
All right. Well, can't wait to see him at a future event, and
I'm
hopefully
sure he'll
you
be there.
too. So Jamal, let's talk about Survivor
Yes.
43. We got this great episode from last night. Just big picture on the season. Where were you coming into this week?
This week,
Yeah.
I was into it. I was into it this week. I'm very, very, very connected as I'm watching Survivor. I know all the
Yeah.
takes that are out there about the season, but like I mean, I'm very consistent, which I think I appreciate about myself. I very much love the story, right? I love getting to know the players and their background and why they're playing, right? I know we'll get into Jesse's story in a second, but I want to know why you're playing. Like, if you're just a bot out here, I mean, cool, interesting. We love the game, but I would love to know. This is a big decision. It's a big decision to just upend your life, fly out to halfway around the world for most of us, and play this game. And so, what's going on for you? Who are you out there? Like, what are you bringing to the game? Because the game is not just challenges and vote outs and camp life. It's like you bring all of your baggage, right? You bring all of your insecurities to the game, and people figure out how to play you because of those things. And so I want to know those things. I want to be there with you. Why are you sad about that thing? Why are you happy about this other thing? Who are you playing for? Those are all questions I like to have answered as I'm watching. So even though slow burn is kind of the phrase of the day for the season, I think it had a huge payoff today, as I'm sure we'll talk about.
For sure. Going back to the why for all the players, certainly we are very clear about Jesse's why, Jesse's family. It's been a big part of the season. Do you feel like that all of the other characters in the show have gotten a similar sort of treatment? Do you feel like you understand the why for everybody else?
Not like right now, for sure. When Jesse gave us that confessional, where he was saying, everyone else is out here just have a good time, and
It
I'm
was
here
so
for
good.
my family's future. That was a moment where I was reminded that they're human,
Yeah.
because for so many episodes it was just this like game that was happening out there, and probably because, as Jesse explained to us, that is what the players were doing, right? We just see what the players are doing. There's no script out there, right? But I think in the beginning, when we had those long episodes and we were getting all those flashbacks and the story, like Noelle, like how could you not
Sure.
bleed for her and NECA and just all these incredible characters, Dwight. And, I mean, just really awesome uh, 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 characters who have just gone through really relatable life things so we can see ourselves. That's the whole point, is just to see ourselves on the screen. So it was great.
Mhm. Yeah, and when Jesse was talking about how, he had to do this and he was out there for his family, that just like a light bulb went off for me of like, if I ever, was to have the opportunity to play this game again, which I think is like, almost like Slim and None and Slim's not around. I think I would be a complete mess. I really do, because when I played the game, like I was I was basically, I wasn't quite Sammy, but I was, I just turned 24 and was probably like maturity level like 14 when I was playing the game. But like to go out there like as a dad, I think I would just be like a complete mess the entire time I was out there, and be like super annoying just talking about my kids and my family all the time.
Well, that's why Winners at War felt so different, right?
Hmm.
Not only do we know all the players really, really well, but they were at such a different part of their lives, and they brought that with them, right? They connected over their kids, they connected over, their lives at that much later stage. And I don't think I want to watch that every season, but I do
Yeah.
think it was a nice change of pace to be reminded of the fact that you bring your entire life with you when you go play this game. It's
Yeah.
one of the few games like it, to be honest, or the few TV shows like it, where it is absolutely part of it. It is essential to the mechanism of the game to bring your full self to it.
Okay, Jamal. Let's dive into some
Let's
of
go.
the real stuff that's on our plate here
Yes.
today.
Yes.
For me, one of the biggest things that came out of today was I spoke with Cody, and I asked him a question which was on everybody's mind who watched that episode last night. Cody,
Why?
why would you give the idol back to Jesse? And in my exit interview, he got into that, and he explained that there was a lot of concern about Carla potentially having the knowledge is power. And that was a seed that I guess Jesse had planted with him. And that was the reason why he was holding on to that idol. But the thing that had sort of like inadvertently also made Cody super paranoid about that going into this tribal council was we see that scene where Carla and Cody are showing each other the idol. And in the episode, it kind of makes it seem like Cody says to Carla, hey, you want to see it? But that might have just like come into the middle of the conversation where Carla was already talking about it. And so when she is like, hey, like, can I see it? Cody's like, oh my God, she's going to knowledge is power me. And Jesse didn't even ask Cody for the idol back. Cody went and got him and gave it to him because he was so concerned about Carla using a potential knowledge is power at him on this tribal council.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something? And that move for Jesse, I'm actually going to be a little tiny wet washcloth on the Jesse hype.
Please, Jamal. This is why.
It's gotten out of control. It's gotten out of control. Okay,
hey,
you and
good.
Stephen both. Like,
Good.
come on.
I love this. This is why I love having you on the podcast, because you come in with interesting opinions always.
Well, I appreciate that. This is the one place where those interesting opinions are welcome, because in my
Yes.
regular life, it's like, all right, yeah, but can we just finish the job here?
Mm-hmm.
No. But that move doesn't work with anybody else. That move does not work with anybody else. We're all avid fans. You and I played the game. Lots of other people played the game. When I found my idol, so I found my idol in season 39 in, what was it, episode 3? Yeah, episode 3, early days, right? Single digit days, I found that idol. And let me tell you, I looked at it, I felt for it every single day. I literally stole off to just like ogle this thing and just like feel the fact that I had this idol in my possession, because we have this reverence for this idol. It becomes an actual idol. We like almost worship the finding of this thing. And so to have this thing in your possession, to know that you have this power and not have it on your person, ridiculous. Only a new player would not have that same kind of fealty to this thing, and that's so powerful in this game. So Jesse, yeah, good move, great, yada yada. But like, that's just Cody being new. That's just him not having that same respect and reverence for the idol, that he
Yeah.
was comfortable just letting someone else carry your idol. That just seems so blasphemous to me. Even if I say that sentence, like, what? No,
Hmm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If anyone even asked to hold my idol, I would have been like, no, you're not touching this thing. I will hold it as a distance. You can squint, you can smell it. I will not even relinquish this thing into your grasp at any point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. Cody, potentially an easy mark for Jesse. One, do you give Jesse any credit for spotting an easy mark and bringing him into the fold?
So here's where I get a little bit counter to the Jesse hype, because I'm like, we would all do it, like there's some things that Jesse has done where I'm like, I don't see what is so like specially intuitive and insightful on his part for doing what I consider to be what's right in front of him,
Yeah.
right? You have this player living, he's chilling, dude. Aloha, cool dude. Love Cody to death. I'm not mocking him in any negative way. All I mean is like, my survivor cackles go up, right? My like antennas go up. It's like, oh, he doesn't know what the heck he's doing. I'm gonna steer this dude, right, and have him be an asset to me as long as he continues to do what I say and be so trusting. Like when you have, because look, the way Cody was talking about his relationship with Jesse, you can just get into Jesse's mind and just be like, I have him. Like he is absolutely mine. What he will do whatever I say. He will, react in predictable ways to me and my game. He just got too popular,
Yeah.
right? And so Jesse was like, okay, that's enough of that, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, sure, credit to Jesse for knowing to do that and executing and all of that, and we'll get into the particulars of his gameplay. But I just am wanting to remind people that Cody was a very, very attractive player to those of us who are pretty deep in like survivor strategy.
Yeah.
That is exactly the person you want to play with.
You bring up an interesting point about how Cody is like the newest of the fans to the show, seemingly. That based on like what we know about this cast, everybody, it's almost like you don't get on this cast unless you are like, basically an 8 out of a 10 super fan. Like almost everybody who they cast on the show, even from into the 30s, everybody is a big fan of the show, with the exception of, it seems like, when we have these people that like these bigger characters, this is the one like loophole where we're getting these people who maybe don't know the show to like this incredible degree. And I'm thinking of somebody from your season in Nora, big
Uh-huh.
character.
Yeah.
Maybe not the biggest super fan, but I feel like that they will make an exception. I feel like for players, like it's like, okay, well, we really like. Can you imagine this person on the show? Like, but everybody else, like that, you have to be able to go on and take on Jordan Kalish's quiz, and you better do pretty well.
So great example for
Yeah.
Nora, because Nora, great character, really interesting. But if you track her path through our season, she just got passed off from strategic player to strategic player,
Hmm.
right? First, it was Jason, mastermind of Survivor, went too soon. We live the day when we can see Jason again. Then when she went over to old Lyra or new Lyra, Kelly, mastermind, genius Survivor player, right? Just put her right in her pocket
Yeah.
and used her to do the whole blindside of Jack, right? Because Nora was just, there for the manipulating for the players who were willing to do that. I gave it a go after the merge where I was like trying to use her to get Dan out, right? Missy, think whatever you want about her, but she is absolutely survivor cutthroat, right? And she absolutely tried to recruit her. And then you see how she played out for the rest of the game. Lauren, Tommy, Dean, they all played her. Every single one of them played her like a fiddle because she was just so available for it, because she wasn't so hopped up on, survivor and knowing the ins and outs of strategy and what people were trying to do. She was out there raw emotion, which was fun to watch. And I don't regret that she was on the cast. I think she was one of the highlights. Absolutely. But I don't think any one of us who tried to work with her are just like super geniuses
Mhm.
for, sniffing out her vulnerable state in survivor world, right?
Yeah.
Of someone who could just be brought along and, oh, Nora, we love you to do this. And she's like, yes, perfect. This is where I belong. I'm going to vote with you. You know what I mean? So she just was available for that. And, Cody had a little bit of a sharper mind and bigger personality. But I do think that, if all it was Jesse whispering in his ear that Carla might have a knowledge is power advantage in a game where the knowledge of power advantage already played out.
Twice.
No, in that game.
Yeah.
It was just James, right? There wasn't.
Geo had it. It did.
Oh,
I mean, it had come back to like a second time. So, things tend to happen in threes. Yeah.
okay. Well, all right. So maybe that actually takes a little bit of wind out of my sails. I thought it was just James. Okay, you're right.
Hmm.
I just don't know that I don't think anybody would have fallen for that as hard as Cody did because of the kind of player that Cody was.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like anybody else that like fits into that category in the new era. Maybe Brad in season 41 might have been that type of person. I don't know if there's really anybody in 42. Maybe Lydia. I don't know necessarily like who that larger than life character is. Who made I don't know. Maybe a Roxroy. I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's an interesting theory of, the character of the season is an easy mark.
They don't win. They don't
Yeah,
win, Rob. Right? They don't win the game. They're just fun to watch.
yeah.
They're and it's fun to watch other people work that big character. Like that's why it's fun. But they're not
Hmm.
winning the game, right?
Yeah.
Especially now.
Um, Let me ask you that you heard my interview with Cody. Was there anything else that Cody said in the exit interview that you thought was interesting?
Um, Yeah, I thought it was interesting how much he blamed coffee, how much
Yes.
he blamed caffeine and sugar for kind of adjusting the way that he was playing the game. I think that's a little bit of a scapegoat. I think he just got ahead of his skis. I think he got excited to have felt as though he had finally figured out the game and was going to do this big move and all of that. And he just wasn't seeing all the pieces in play, and he was blinded by the relationship.
Yeah.
I think the Jesse Cody relationship is it's crazy that that was so much his downfall, right? Like to trust someone that much. I had an incredible relationship with Jack, right? Jack and I were absolutely allies, very
Recently
similar.
engaged.
Recently engaged, Jack, absolutely, to Elizabeth Beisel. They're gonna live forever in happiness and love. It's great.
Wow.
It's gross, but it's great. They're just so perfect for each other, Rob. When you
Yeah.
just meet these two people and you're just like, okay, well, what chance do any of us have if these guys just find each other in Fiji and you know
Hmm.
go off and ride the horse in the sunset? But anyways, not bitter. They're wonderful people. I love them to death. But the point here is that I had an incredible relationship with Jack, and even with him, we had conversations that was like final 8, final 7, and then we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Like nobody truly believes that you're going to go to the final 3 with the person from the beginning of the game. You know what I mean? Everyone
Hmm.
has that, like, let's go about here, right? About family visits, about 8, 9, 8, 7, 6 maybe, and then all bets are off. So to find someone like Cody, who's willing to just completely blindly trust that final three is true,
Yeah.
that's an incredible asset for anyone working with him.
Yeah, and what he said was that he had not seen a ton of Survivor coming in, but one of the seasons that he had watched was the Ghost Island. And he saw, Dominic and went, and I don't know if he saw it to the end of the season. Maybe like he just like watched it for, a few episodes
Mhm.
because it seemed like that he really was not like having the takeaway of Survivor Ghost Island, that he was willing, unless he just felt like, okay, I was like sort of like in the Wendell position of that I am going to, ultimately win out in a jury vote, even if it has to go to overtime against Jesse. But it seemed like that if you're Jesse and you hear that story of this is the season that I watched, I want to base my game after Dom and Wendell. Like, that's probably something. Maybe that gives some more insight into why Jesse was so quick to dump Dwight, who was his original partner in the game.
Yeah, yeah. Jesse definitely learned a different lesson from seasons like that.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Cody, right? Like, I get, I understand now that that's what his mindset was. But if you listen to him throughout the season, I don't know that Cody ever said anything about winning. I just think he was living. He was having a great time. He
Not
was
winning.
not winning. He was having a great, connections with people, great experience, blah, blah, blah. And he just wanted to like hang out, which is fine. Like, absolutely, he got a lot out of the experience, but you can see the difference, right? You hold these two people up next to each other and you see the difference, what that fire to win makes one do. And, Cody was comfortable, it seemed like, falling into the final three, right? You never saw him really put too much effort or too much emotion into the idea of winning. I think he was excited about this little, idol fake out and we're going to vote out Carla and it's going to be a big move, but it was never resume building in
Mhm.
any real way for a true gamer, right? It was just like, oh, I have
Right.
the power to do this thing. This will be fun. This will be interesting. You
Right.
know,
His plan was ultimately like, let's get down to the final four with four guys, and no matter what the configuration is with
we
those
want
four guys, like
whatever.
he's in the final three.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that's what he was just kind of excited to participate in, as opposed to seeing it as a pathway to winning.
Yeah. So you said that Cody blamed the coffee for what was going on. And so, yeah, I would love to touch on that, especially because that I had forgotten that you had gone on that reward. And so when Cody started talking about the coffee, how the coffee was really his downfall, I think I had asked him what was the mistake that you had made in the game, and he said it was the coffee. And
Mhm.
I thought he was going to say that basically, it's like in a movie where you see somebody is like, like does a bunch of like cocaine, and then it's like has like a bunch of plans where no, that wasn't so much that he was like hopped up on the coffee and making bad decisions. He
Mhm.
said couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah, he
And
crashed.
then he was so too tired because of the day of drinking all the coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is the high and low of being substance dependent, right? Like, you get real high and you act weird, and then you get real low and you act even weirder.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. I can definitely see that, because when you haven't had that kind of thing in your system for that long, and it wasn't even just the time he was on Survivor. He explained that he
Yeah.
hadn't taken coffee for about 2 months before the game even started. So I get it. When they put all that food in front of you and you hadn't eaten for what, 20 some days, yeah, you're going to town. But I completely believe him. I think he's absolutely right that he was not in his right frame of mind to play as strategic a game as he would have needed to play to
Hmm.
survive that, because he just wasn't seeing it. He wasn't seeing through the trees,
Yeah. Did you experience anything like that when you had coffee on the show?
No, it was a little early on. I think we won that reward, still in the first tribal arrangement. So I was still on Vokai. So it wasn't too crazy. I think we had like a little punch of like sugar with the donuts and all of that.
Hmm.
Teacher Tommy was the biggest fan of the donuts, as we
Hmm.
know. And you get that little high, but yeah, that was about it. And I don't know how graphic we can get on the podcast, but it
Yeah,
goes right
we could
through.
use the imagination. Sure, sure. I'd love to look forward a little bit as we now are entering the final five here after like the dust has settled and start to talk about like what could happen. And what I would love to do is try to separate the what we've seen in the edit from what actually could happen, because I feel like that the edit a lot of times, you know, taints us from being able to really be able to discuss like the positions of the play and what the players are doing in the game.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I definitely get a lot of like, oh well, Carla can't win because she's been edited this way, or Cassidy can't because she's been edited that way. Yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
a lot of that discussion for sure. So okay, I can appreciate this
And if we
exercise.
could, yeah, and if we could, like I would love to start with the one of the people that you mentioned in Cassidy.
Mm.
And do you think there is a case that Cassidy has a shot to go ahead and win this thing? And do you like how she's positioned moving forward? Now she was in with that group that voted voted Cody out of the game.
Yes. If you watch if you watch Cassidy move socially and you hear the strategic conversations that she is a part of, she's always being pulled in. She's always a part of it. She doesn't no one feels all that threatened by her. I think she just was considered a threat because of her challenge prowess
Mm-hmm.
by Cody for sure, and also just maybe the pairing, right? The pairing with Carla. But basically, Gabler, Owen, they're fine. They're fine to work with Cassidy,
Mm-hmm.
and work. And Jesse obviously was fine to kind of bring her in on the 4-person vote. Do I think she can win though? I don't know, right? So she's not going to. Well, I know Steven said that she's a classic fifth boot,
Yeah, but I don't know where he gets that from, because
reality.
Ricard was the fifth place person in Survivor 41, and that's not at all like what her edit is like.
Yeah, well, I just think she needs a move. She needs to do something. You need to do something because at this point you hold up players against 2 other players, and I
Hmm.
don't know that there are 2 other players combined who are in her shadow,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, right? Like she can't sit next to 2 other people and have a clear advantage in her storytelling and her gameplay. She's getting told a lot of information. Someone explains to her that Carla was actually coming for her, right?
Hmm.
She gets
Yeah.
she gets told who to vote for. So I don't know what claim she's going to have in relation to other people who might be better able to craft their own agency about their game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know. I think Cassidy might be the lowest of the 5.
I would say the lowest of the 5 for sure.
Yeah.
That the thing about Cassidy that just has me a little bit intrigued is that I totally can see a world where she wins one of the final 2 immunity challenges. She's won 2. She, has been really good in these like puzzle type of challenges. We saw her build the bat. She actually should have won going away, and she put the thing together wrong and had to go back and and fix it. She was also really good in the House of Cards challenge. So she's an artist. I feel like that she visually, like, these things always have a puzzle component at
Mhm.
the end. And so like I totally could see a scenario where she wins a final 5 immunity. The final 4 immunity tends to not be a puzzle. They just did the I forget what the name of it is that Marianne had it from last season. The one
Mhm.
with the one with the gyroscope.
Yeah,
I
the
starts with
ball
an
going
S.
through.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Uh,
Can I tell you, Rob? Samotion, Sam
it's
reminded
emotion.
me.
Yes.
Can I tell you? I dream about playing that one.
Mhm.
Dream about it. Of all the Survivor challenges, that is the one
Yeah.
that
How do you even practice that one? It's like who would you be good at it? Who knows?
I would be amazing. I would be
Yes.
amazing
Well,
at it.
can you juggle? Like, what do you have to do to
Juggle.
practice?
I
Yeah.
can juggle for sure. You know what it is, and I'm actually I'm gonna give this away because
Good.
I'm probably not going to play this particular challenge. I'm gonna give away the strategy here to any future Survivor players. You ready? Tune
Yeah.
in, get your ears perked up. I'm gonna give you the secret to Samotion right now. Think about it. The whole idea is that you put the ball in, right? And then it winds down and then it comes out. And then you put the second ball in and it winds down and comes out. The big mistake that all these players do is they try to space out the two balls evenly. And then when the third ball comes in, they try to split the time into thirds, right? To space them out evenly. Wrong, wrong. Here's what you do. You take the first one, you put it in, you take the second one, you put it in right after in exactly the amount of time that it takes to grab and drop. Grab and drop, grab and drop.
Oh,
And then
that's
you
so
have all
smart.
this time in the middle. Grab and drop, grab and drop. You have all this time in the middle. Then you get that third ball, grab and drop, grab and drop, grab and drop. Then you have all this time between, you have to do that again so that you're always putting the ball in right after the
Right.
grouping of the first few, and now you're just here, you're just always in time as you put more balls in. It's so clear to me that I would
Yes.
be so good at this, but
Jamal,
I'm
how did you figure that out? Did a player tell you this, or you
no,
just cracked this?
no. I just have watched it a few times. My idol, Jeremy Collins, played this one back in his season, and I just watched how that works, and that's just, I just feel the instinct of how I would play that game. I'm so bummed that I'll never play that one, but I'm so excited to do so. So if anybody wins that challenge based on this advice, let me know because I'd be really
Yeah.
excited to know if it
Give Jamal a tip. 10K at least.
works.
At
Yeah,
least.
because you're gonna win the million, so you can afford to give me a generous tip on that.
No doubt. No doubt. Come on. Pay it forward.
That's
Come
right.
on.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. That is super interesting. I feel like that what we might be more likely to see is like I think there's only like 2 or 3 different challenges that they do for the final four. I have a feeling that we are going to go back to the final four challenge from your season that Nora won, where basically you're on the springy thing with like the pitchfork and move the letters around.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the one we're due to get. And I kind of feel like that a tall, like a lanky person is
Mhm.
going to win. Like I feel like that of the potential like final four, final five, I feel like Cassidy could like
Mhm.
fit that description.
But don't you get the sense that a resume of challenge wins doesn't impress
Well,
the
I'm just
cast
trying to
these days?
explain how she gets there.
She could
And
get there.
maybe,
She could
uh,
get there
yeah,
100%, but I don't think she sits there and gets, 6, 7 people to vote for her
yeah,
based
I
on
think
challenge
her
wins.
well, challenge wins coupled with a like I think that the inside straight for Cassidy would have to be where um Carla goes out at 5 and Jesse goes out at 4. And does she have some part in Jesse going out at 4, potentially making the fire against Jesse? Like I
Mhm.
feel like that's sort of the, inside straight for Cassidy.
Maybe, but I feel like even the relationships that Owen and Gabler have is gonna really get in the way of her being able to pull people in her direction. I mean, you heard Cody say it this morning.
Mhm.
She just he
Oh, and
he didn't
I would
really have a relationship.
that was why I was asking about that. I was like, hey, like, give us some breadcrumbs here. Can you tell us anything about Cassidy?
Yeah, and you couldn't.
She's like,
Which
No.
means Cody's not voting for her, and that's one down. So I don't know. You go down the list and you're like, well, who's so close to Cassidy that they're gonna give her the million?
Yeah. One thing that I do think is interesting in terms of a relationship has been Owen and Cassidy. And I think this has been kind of a little bit under our radar. The episode opened with Owen and Cassidy talking, and it was Owen who was really trying to stoke those flames with Cassidy. Carla was coming for you.
Mhm.
Also, before Tribal Council, it was Owen telling Cassidy about how, like, oh, like, Cody's not going to have his idol at Tribal Council. And
Yeah.
it seems like that he was the conduit more to Cassidy. There was a conversation where Cassidy was talking with Jesse about it, about that they didn't know if he hadn't given the idol back. But I do feel like that this Owen, Cassidy, Gabler trio here, like the three people that we're not really thinking about, like I feel like they are talking, and there is this scenario where do these three potentially get their act together here at the 11th hour?
Maybe, but if you're highlighting a relationship between Cassidy and Owen, it does no good to Cassidy to have Owen sitting next to her.
Mm-hmm.
Owen needs to be in the jury talking up how great of a connection he had with Cassidy and
Mm-hmm.
voting for her, you know? So, like, don't have your allies sitting next to you,
Okay.
you know? Put them on the jury so that they can talk you up and give you the vote.
So then she has to then end around either Jesse or Carla in the final three.
Right, right. And I think at this point, if Cassidy can get over her, you know, rivalry with Carla, it actually maybe makes the most sense to keep Carla because the sails are the wind is out of Carla's sails right now.
Mm-hmm.
If she can put aside all that she has felt and explain to us about how she's felt, I think Carla is actually the right one to sit next to kind of tell that story. Look, I'm benevolent. You've backstabbed me, you've lied to me, and I still brought you here, right? And that would completely kill Carla's chances of winning sitting next to her. So I actually think Carla is the best person to sit next to for Cassidy.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about Carla because she's had really, I feel like a tale of two halves of her Survivor season where she was like seemingly incredibly dominant in the first half of the game. And I feel like has had some stumbles, both literally and like metaphorically in the game, in the post merge game. Where do you think Carla stands heading into this final five?
Not great.
Yeah.
Not great. Again, like I said, I don't know that she is a threat enough to be targeted at this point. I feel like everyone saw what just happened, right? Everyone saw her vote incorrectly. Everyone saw her waste an idol. And so possibly the perception of her as a threat is not going to carry into the next vote, which I think is the right thing. I don't think Carla needs to be the target right now, because I think everyone else has better stories to tell. But I think she stumbled only in that she ran up against this wall. And here's this wall in Survivor. I know it very well. Let me explain it to everybody. There's a wall in Survivor that you play a good game, you have all these great relationships, and there's just a moment where you talk to people and you just understand immediately that no one cares to keep you in the game. No one is incorporating you in their future plans of how they see themselves getting to the end. And that can be because they see you as a threat. That can be because they realize that you don't have social pull with other people. And so you can't give them anything. There's no value to keeping you in the game, right? It would be too risky to stick their neck out for you because they want to hold on to their alliance or whatever the hell else they have going on. And let me tell you, that is one of the loneliest feelings out in Fiji when you realize that you have gone as far as you can go in terms of any kind of cachet, any ability to sway anyone, to convince anyone, to make any moves. No one's bringing you information. Everyone is just kind of being nice to you and refusing your invitations to go to the water well and just kind of saying like, oh, you know, how's your family doing? Blah, blah, blah. And like no gameplay at all. And you're like, oh, okay, there's the Survivor wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carla has hit that wall. There's no one who's going to take her strategic insights or recommendations to heart in any serious way because she just doesn't bring that value,
Mm-hmm.
because she's gotten the wind knocked out of her sails. So yeah, she has played a good game up until now, but like we've seen, she's degraded physically, right, and maybe even a little bit emotionally, right, because she's just not convincing anymore. Everyone's seeing through it. Cassidy tells us, Owen tells it, like it's just not. She doesn't have it anymore. She doesn't have that magic that you need to have.
Do you think, is it possible that Carla is playing up any of the injuries at this point, a la Tyson in Blood versus Water, where that maybe she might feel like, okay, and she's won a couple of challenges, also won immunity twice. Could she be potentially playing up, oh, I can't walk, my hands don't work? Is there anything to that maybe where maybe it's like, hey, why would you vote me out? I can barely compete.
No.
It would be
Summarily.
something. It would be something if it was, though, right?
Sure, sure. If you want to live in fantasy land, Rob, no.
Fan fiction. Yeah.
Fan fiction, absolutely fan fiction. No, no, nobody wants to be seen as weak like that. I mean, I guess if you're a big threat physically, like maybe if you're like a Jonathan and you want
Yeah.
people to like not be so scared of your imposing, figure, and you're like, oh, my ankle, I feel sick, maybe, but not hands cramping, twisting the ankle, smashing her face against the side of the cargo net. Like she's having a tough go physically, and I don't think she wants to be experiencing the end of her survivor time in this way. No, no, no. I don't think this is a put on. I think she's actually having a hard time physically.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought was interesting, and I want to get your take on this theory. So the telenovela theory that I have of, you know, Carla has the conversation with Cassidy. And it seems seemingly Cassidy buys the story, and we don't get any confessional from Cassidy saying I don't know if we got a confessional that says she did believe it, but we're not, at least not presented that Cassidy's like BS, like she totally was trying to get me out. So Carla is feeling like, oh, like I got this going on, I have the waterworks and everything. Like, I feel like is this a thing on Survivor when you start telling stories, telling lies? You tell one lie and you get away with it. Is this sort of like the slippery slope of like, oh, I can do anything? Like, is this how we get into like Walter White territory of that, you get away with one bad thing once and it's just like, okay, well, if I got away with that, I can go after this.
I mean, sure. I don't think that describes exactly what Carla what's happening for Carla, right? So
Because
she
then
puts
she's gonna
on.
tell, well, watch this. Now I'm gonna lie to Cody, and then ultimately it's like, now we're gonna get one over on Owen, where okay, now we're gonna tell Owen that like we're gonna play our idols, and Gabler and Owen, like we're bluffing them, and they're gonna look like fools.
No, I see it a little differently than that. That's an interesting idea, though. I see it a
It
little
was
differently.
theory.
It's a theory. I think what's happening for Carla is that she has some ideas or preconceived notions about what people should know about you, right? So Cassidy can't know that I was coming for her. That's a rule in her brain. Cassidy can't know that I actually, was having her name out there. And so when confronted in the split moment where Cassidy was like, "Oh, I heard you were coming for me," she just is like, "Oh, I have to lie here." And she's doing the emotional manipulation and all that. But very, very quickly, as far as we're concerned, that all falls away. Right? She said she didn't have an idol to everybody. Then she's like, okay, yeah, sure, I have an idol. You know what I mean? So I don't think she holds on. I think she tries a lie in the beginning, and then is like, all right, that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You got me. And I think that's what's going on for her, is that people are just kind of figuring her out and not really buying it. So I don't think she's getting ahead of her skis. I think she's just has these like instincts to lie and to adhere to what she understands to be the Survivor rules. People can't know about my idol. Cassidy knows about my idol. I got to get her out. People can't know that I'm coming for them. Cassidy asked me if I'm coming for her. I got a lot. You know what I mean? And so I just think that's what's going on for her in the moment when she is trying to get out of what she thinks is to be a sticky situation.
Okay, so give me the game plan for Carla now coming out of this vote. She has no idol. Cody is gone. Where do you think she goes from here?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it would be silly of everyone else to go for her right now. she's a sitting duck,
Yeah.
if everyone else considers their chances to win, they should be much more fearful of the other people. So Carla right
Mhm.
now needs to play the I have nothing. I wasted my idol. The jury, I've lost the jury because they saw how, terribly I played at the tribal council. Take me, use me here. I'm no threat to you. Maybe even play up that she can't make fire or whatever it is, but like give herself one of the three ways to get to the final three. And I want to go into that when we talk about Jesse. But Carla needs to really, really invest in being brought to the final three as the
Yes.
possible route for her to win the game.
Yeah. Okay. Carla's reaction to Jesse following this vote. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so now you're Carla. Okay, oh, total blindside. Did not even know that Cody was like. It's this is weird to be blindsided, but blindsided in a way that doesn't necessarily like you were not the intended target, but you didn't know what was going to happen. This was a blind side, but it wasn't against you. Now Carla comes back from this tribal council, and on the one hand, Jesse saved her. Cody was going to vote her out. The plan was to dupe her. Jesse made this move and saved Carla in the game. But on the other hand, Carla was left out of this plan to save her. And but that Jesse played his idol on Owen with the purpose of knowing that that would cause the chain reaction to get Carla to waste her idol. So, how does Carla feel about Jesse coming out of last night's tribal council?
Skipping the emotional aspect of Survivor, she should be feeling great. She should be feeling amazing because Jesse is the clear and away target after what he executed.
Yes.
And this goes to the argument I want to make about Jesse, which he made his move too soon. And I know that's a weird thing to say at final six, or final seven. No, there was
Six.
seven, and now it is no. That was six.
It was six, and now it's five. Yeah.
That was six, and that was five. Okay, a weird thing to say at final six, but honestly, that's how I feel, right? Because I think Jesse stepping forward that big has given everyone all kinds of incentive to band together and get him out because
Mm-hmm.
it's so obvious now what his story is. And this is the new era of Survivor, right? Where you really can't pull your punch too soon because right away that just gives everyone the ammo to be like, yeah, see what he did? No, we can't beat that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Carla, besides feeling betrayed, besides all the things that she would feel naturally as a human being, should actually be feeling pretty good that Jesse has kind of taken a little bit of that edge off of herself
Yeah.
as a threat.
And I think she should be feeling good about this. There, but I feel like going back to the Sammy vote, or sorry, the James vote, where Sammy brought her in, and that Owen and Noelle voted out James in that spot, and she voted with them. The mistake I made that week was that I felt like, okay, they all voted together, they're cool, but Owen and Noelle didn't tell Carla about the vote ahead of time. And Carla came away from that in feeling like, some type of way towards Owen and Noelle, and vice versa, because they weren't on the same page. Even though they voted the same way, their motives were not aligned. And I feel like that Carla is not going to be happy.
This is great. This is really, really good, Rob. Really, really good thinking. And I appreciate you so much because you're absolutely right. To vote together does not equal simpatico, right? My individual vote, while it could be a display of trust and coordination with some other players, it can also be my way to hide. It's like, just tell me where the majority of the votes are going and I will stick my vote right in there. I don't care about you people, right? As long as the vote is not me, I'm not, creating a blood pact with you all. I just want my vote to be right in the middle of the majority so that I can continue to play a low-key game, under the radar game, And it means nothing about my bonds, my loyalties, my motivations for the future. I just want to not stick out. And that's exactly what Carla decided to do when she saw that Sammy was going to play uh,
Hmm.
the shot in the dark, right? And she was like, "Oh well, makes no sense for me now to stick out and vote for Cassidy because that's going to mess up yada yada." And ended up
Hmm.
doing that anyway because of what she was doing before. But she was tucking her vote inside of the majority to not become a target or not to ruffle any feathers with her castmates. So yeah, it is a really complicated action in Survivor.
Hmm.
It's not just, oh, we voted together, so we're working together.
Yeah.
It can be a lot of other things.
But back to your point, for Carla, there is an opening now. And I would love to hear you talk through the Jesse made the move too early, because I think
Yes.
that what I would prebuttal to that is that he does have a hidden immunity idol that nobody else knows about. So
Mhm.
while to the outside looking in, it may be like, Jesse, what a fool. He
Mhm.
made he made a move too early. Now he is unprotected here at the final five. This is a golden opportunity for all of us. Let's vote out Jesse. But I think that Jesse does have an opportunity at the final five to be like a Ben Bomb scenario
True.
of everybody votes for Jesse, and
True.
maybe his one vote ends up being the sending home the person that he wants.
Okay. Are you ready for this?
Ready?
Here's why I think that was a not a bad move, not even a pretty good move, exciting move for us as the audience. Awesome, happy to see what Jesse did happen for the game of Survivor, for the entertainment of Survivor. But check this out. Let's work backwards. Final three.
Yeah.
How do you get there? You get there one of three ways. You win immunity, you win fire, or you get taken to the final three. Those are three ways to get to the final three. If you are a player, it makes sense for you to invest in 100% of the ways in which you can get to final three. Be a challenge beast, build up your fire skills. And that third one, how do you invest in getting taken to the final three? Before my season, right? I was in season 39. Tommy was the very first person in this fire making era to be taken to the final three
Yeah.
and win, right? Before Tommy, it hadn't happened. So nobody really thought about that as a viable path. Our girl, got her name real quick, black girl, Canadian.
Shan?
No, winner.
Oh, Marianne.
Marianne, thank you. Sorry, Marianne. I didn't mean to forget your name. Marianne, amazing player, but she got taken. She got
Hmm.
brought to the final three by Romeo, and she won. Right. So now we have two examples of how to win from each. We have examples of how to win from each spot. Okay. So now that we've laid that out, think about what Jesse just did. Guaranteed final four for sure. Right.
Yeah.
Because he has the idol and all of that. But he can either win immunity, he can either win fire. No one is taking him. Not a single person is going to take Jesse. Cody
Hmm.
was his best bet to be taken to the final three. Cody's gone. No one is taking Jesse to the final three. So what he maybe should have done, right? Because think about the order of operations here, right? He already has Cody's idol. He already knows Carla's voting for Owen. He already has the four lined up on Cody. Just let Cody go home. And now you have two idols going into the final five. What can you do with two idols going into the final five?
Yeah. What can you do with two
You can
idols?
protect yourself.
Yeah.
You can find out what's going on, right? You can kind of sniff out the target, get pulled into a plan, and you can save someone. So let's play this out. If Jesse had his second idol, he plays it for himself and he saves Owen because then there's some, plan to get Owen out because, Cassidy wins immunity again and nobody cares about Carla and Gabler's a wild card. And so now the target's on Owen and he saves Owen. How much social pull is that going to purchase with Owen that possibly Owen might feel indebted to Jesse to bring him along in case he wins Final Four immunity or some version thereof. Maybe not play it for him, but maybe gift him the idol back at camp. Hey, Owen, I really, I don't understand why people keep leaving you out of plans. I like you well enough. You belong here, because what's Owen's insecurity, right? He's never feeling like he's on the in. He's always feeling like he's on the outside of the vote. Hey, buddy, I got you. Here's an idol. I want to play with you. I want to go to the final three with you. We're together in this. We've been playing the game together this whole time. Owen plays the idol for himself, saves himself because he gets 2-3 votes or something. Now there's a bond, and possibly Jesse could win immunity. He can win fire, and maybe someone might take him to the final three. That, I think, needs to be the mindset in this last stretch. Invest in each of the ways that you can make final three, because you can win from each of those spots.
I do love what you're saying about investing in the 3 different ways, because I think in financial advice and Survivor, they would tell you to diversify your portfolio. You are all in on one particular way. I think that Jesse is kind of all his eggs are basically in the basket of that he's going to win the Final Four immunity. And I think that that's going to be tough. I get the sense from, if we just look at the move that he made, that it's been very important for him to flush Carla's idol for the last 2 rounds of the game. Maybe to discredit her, maybe to get her fighting against Cassidy. But it seems like that Carla is the person that he would like to send home at the final 5. At the final 5.
Why? Cassidy and Carla are already rift created. Didn't even matter that Carla didn't vote for Cassidy. The rift is already there, and Jesse stoked it, right? Carla went to Jesse. Jesse was like, oh, yeah. I'll tell her that, you were never coming for her. Turns around, goes right to Cassidy. Yeah, everything that you're hearing about Carla, that was true, right? So Jesse already did it. Success, win in his column for breaking that. Carla votes for Owen in the final 6, unprompted. You think Owen is going to work with Carla now in the final 5, or consider, working with Carla to bring her to the final 3? No, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like, I think Jesse didn't need to do all of that. I think he did too much. I think he did too much because that idol play didn't quite need to happen. So, okay, you leave Carla with an idol. Okay, you leave Carla and yourself with a direct path to the final 4, because that's when they would play the idols. And then you have your pick of who gets to join you, because you have that second idol. I really feel strongly that was the better move. It was exciting and all of that, but it was just too early, because now he's vulnerable to being left out, or he's guaranteeing that no one's taking him to the final 3. He's definitely winning, or he's definitely making fire, and he hasn't won an immunity challenge yet.
He hasn't won a challenge yet.
Making fire. He's definitely making fire.
So I don't know if I'm ready to say I'm out on the move. That the image that I just keep having in my mind is that I think it was Janine from the jury bench, and the caption on the bottom of the screen is Jesse did that expletive deleted. It's an underline on the screen. And I wanted to take a still frame of that and put it on Twitter. But I couldn't take a screen grab from, they make it so it's just a black screen when you do that now. I guess I could have done it with my phone. But that was just so iconic that happened. I totally understand where you're coming from. I don't know, even if you give an idol to Owen, is that enough that he's not going to say, look, man, it's $1 million? Thanks for the idol, but I got to do it. If Jesse did it to Cody, I feel like Owen would do it to Jesse if he had the chance at the final 4, but especially because of when we talk about the social contract of the season, once it's been established, this is a thing that happens on this season. I think that no matter what deal they made, I think that Owen would bounce a check that Jesse had handed him.
That is possible. I'm not saying it's a shoo-in. I'm just holding up 2 scenarios next to each other, and the path that Jesse chose guarantees that he's not going to the final 3. He could have tried another thing to invest in what I say, that third option. He could have done another thing. Is my stance on that.
Yes. Okay.
And sure, he did that. Sure. And Ricard did that, right?
Did that ish. Yeah.
And what does that get you? What does that
Mhm.
get you at the end of the day?
Yeah. If there's one place where there might be a blind spot for Jesse, okay? How about maybe that blind spot is another player in this game, okay? And that player could be Gabler. Did you catch last night Gabler's assassin speech as he was planting the Gabler seed about, hey, maybe he says to Cassidy and to Jesse, like, hey, like this is a great opportunity for, somebody to take out their partner in the game, because if you sit next to them, it's going to be hard for the jury to differentiate who did what in the game. Like, was any part of this move a Gabler seed, Jamal?
No, no,
No?
no, it wasn't.
Okay, could I play? Because I pulled the
Play
clip.
the play the clip. Play the clip.
Okay, it's kind of long, so let's just talk through it. But okay, this is okay from Gabler last night. The Alley Gabler, as Tommy Guam is saying here in the chat. Okay, and here is Gabler, the assassin.
We could talk maybe about getting to the final three, and it'd be great if the three of us could be down there. We all have three very different stories.
Okay.
Because Cody may claim that his story is your story. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I did that. Well, no, I did that. Okay, Carla would claim that your story is her story. Yeah. I planted the seed of get rid of Cody and Carla. And you know what's awesome? I don't think people see the game I'm playing.
Oh.
The best assassin doesn't show up at the castle with an axe saying, I'm here to kill the king.
Sure.
He or she slips into the kitchen, puts a vial of poison in the king's bowl, and leaves.
We need to get him or Carla on this next vote.
I think that's a great idea. I'm hiding in plain sight. I am wearing some pretty impressive camo. Maybe that's it. Look at me now. Right? I'm just like frozen in the tree. They just don't seem to see me, which is fine. I mean, it's vote out Cody or Carla.
I sort of worry like he has an idol.
Got you.
Everyone's scared he's going to play his idols. We're not even going to waste time voting for him.
Well, I mean, nobody wants to be next to Carla, so Carla will be a safe bet.
But she also has an idol, so
Probably, or?
she definitely does.
Okay, so she definitely does. Aha.
Aha.
So Carla may play hers tomorrow. Cody can play his. I mean, ideally, we could flush an idol and eliminate one of those two big threats.
I mean, why don't we flush two idols?
No, not impressed. Not impressed. Not impressed. You know why?
Why?
Because the only reason we know that that's what Gabler is thinking is because he's telling us and he's telling them. Jesse has been there a long time ago. Jesse understands that. He has internalized that. He's centered his whole game around this eventuality that he needs to distinguish himself. And Cassidy has been on the get Carla out train.
Yeah.
So Gabler to me in this moment just reminds me of that guy who like has this epiphany that everyone else around the table has already had. And they all just kind of, nod and smile and like, okay, welcome. Well, welcome to the good idea that we all had. No, Gabler's not convincing anyone. He's not manipulating anybody. He's just stating the obvious and obviously seems to think that he's taking credit for planting the seed. But everyone was there. Everyone was there already.
But for Jesse, so that I think that Gabler could be the proverbial fly in the ointment, the exhaust port on the Death Star of what Jesse is planning, because I think that in Jesse's mind, any one of his final three scenarios includes going to the end with Gabler. I think that maybe he's thinking the final three will be him, Owen, and Gabler at this point. Maybe he is going to basically take over that Cody plan and just has taken Cody out of it and wants to knock out Carla at 5, knock out Cassidy at 4, and then sit in the end potentially with Owen and Gabler. And maybe Owen and Gabler split a couple of votes, but he feels like, okay, well, I will be able to pick up the majority of the votes. I think that Gabler is going to jump ship. And I think that in the same way that that Cody said to me that, oh, I thought that Gabler was my ace in the hole. I thought that if anything was going to go down, he was going to tell me. I think that Jesse and Cody are blind to that Gabler is playing his own game and is not just playing the loyalty card And I think that he is willing to flip sides and go to Carla in the same way that we saw that he said to Carla before the Noel vote, hey, we got to do something about these two guys.
Yeah.
I think that Gabler is not as loyal to Jesse as Jesse thinks he might be.
Interesting. Interesting.
I don't think Gabler will go on to win the game, but I do think that Gabler could play a big part in Jesse's undoing. I think that he could be the assassin who puts the poison in the king's soup. Was it in his bowl? In his bowl? And I think that Jesse is the king.
Chalice.
And I think that Gabler will play a part in if Jesse goes down. Gabler will have something to do with it.
Okay. Here's my take on your idea here.
Yes.
Everyone wants to go to the end with Gabler.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does. Carla, Cassidy, Owen, Cody. Everyone wants to go to the end with Gabler. So where do you think Jesse could muster the energy in the tribe to go for Gabler, to try to get Gabler out? It doesn't exist. There is no way to amass the votes and the emotion needed and the strategic energy needed to try to get Gabler out over everyone else's nemesis, right? So, okay, maybe Gabler participates in the next vote that gets Jesse out, but there was no recourse for Jesse to do anything about it, right? Because Gabler has positioned himself, or other people perceive him to be someone that they could all beat at the end of the game, which I think is true, right? So I don't know that he could have done anything about what you're proposing, which is Gabler maybe being his undoing. There was no pathway to try to make a strategic move to get Gabler out of the game. Nobody was going to do that. Nobody's going to want to do it. No one gets excited about that idea. You know what I mean? So I don't think that that's a blunder on Jesse's part. I think that's just Jesse understanding that Gabler's going to be in the final three, at least the final four.
I would say maybe the blunder might be in that cutting Jesse and feeling like, okay, I still have the numbers. I still have people that are going to work with me moving forward. And I think that Gabler is very quick. That what did I say?
Yes, Jesse.
Jesse cutting Cody, feeling like, okay, I still have my numbers to be able to move forward and do what I need to do. And there are people who will still work with me moving from this. And I feel like that Gabler is going to be maybe more likely to go off with Owen, Carla, Cassidy, and, figure out a way forward that does not include Jesse.
I see. Okay. So another choice Jesse could have made was to allow Cody's plan to play out and get Carla out of the game as a way to say, I need to keep my closest ally close and with me in the final five to be someone who participate in voting someone else out. I don't disagree with that. I think that's fine. If it's not to try to get Gabler out, that makes a lot of sense to me, that maybe there was a different path for Jesse here, where he actually just makes the calculation that he should actually keep Cody, right? And then try to play him socially, being like, oh man, that was Cody's idea. He has a big move. We need to get him out because, now he has a resume. He's too cool. Everyone loves him. That I can actually see that as a viable path forward for Jesse to play more of a social game in the final five. Jesse has no social game in the final five now.
Yeah, and so I think what we're landing on in terms of like there was the two paths for Jesse to do the move that he did at last night's tribal council, or to let Cody's plan play out, where Carla goes home with her idol at the final five, or the final six. So she's gone, and now it's the four guys left with Cassidy. Cody still has his idol. So Cody is going, and Jesse still has his idol. But Cody is going to be able to play his idol. But Jesse would probably have to do the Marianne thing of be able to say hey, nobody even knew I had an idol the whole game. And that's probably the only way that he could play that chip. But so now But we're talking about a Final Four that's radically different, where instead of a Final Four, where we're talking about, okay, how is Jesse going to get through this Final Four? I think we're looking at it from the perspective of how is Cody going to get through this Final Four? And so it's an interesting position of that. I think that the move that Jesse made was, incredibly, brilliant and dramatic and exhilarating. But he has kind of also at the same time, like, painted himself into a bit of a corner where that it would be a different challenge, but I think he would have increased his likelihood of getting to the final three to go through with Cody's plan. And was there a move to be made to potentially, keep Cody out of the Final Four by way of somebody else winning the challenge or somebody else beating him in the fire?
Well, that's interesting. I actually think,
or out talking him at the Final Tribal Council.
Right. So for some reason, Jesse thinks that he can't beat Cody in the final three, which I disagree with. I think Jesse could have absolutely beat Cody at the final three. I'm more thinking if he had let Carla go home, then he could be in a better position to work with Cassidy and Owen to get Cody out at 5.
But you don't think that Cody would auto play his idol at 5?
He has it. This is what I'm saying. If Jesse keeps his idol,
yeah,
I mean, it's cutthroat. That's hard. That's a hard thing to do, to, keep someone's idol all the way through the day and all the way through the tribal council. But he had it in his possession. Like, what if Jesse just in his brutal, I got to play for my family, I got to do whatever I got to do. What if he just was like, sorry, buddy, if we pulled a tie and was just like, I'm not giving it to you, I'm keeping it. You know what I mean? Like, cutthroat. But
I could see that at tribal council. I mean, you think that Cody doesn't ask for it during the whole day, even though Carla is gone from the game?
It's an ask. It's an ask. What if Jesse was just like, yo, you messed up. You let me hold it. I'm going to keep it.
Jamal, if you were on the island and somebody had your idol, and I know you might say, like, well, I wouldn't let somebody hold my idol, but somebody had your idol and they said they weren't giving it back to you. I feel like you'd have to, like, I think that this would be, I don't know, but I'd be like, can I get a producer over here? Yeah, like, give me my idol back.
Possession is, what does it say? 95% of the law, whatever it is.
Do you know, is that the rule? So if
possession.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's some advantages that say, like Sarah Lacina, you can't transfer this to other people. So, or whatever. Idols, whoever has it. Right? Whoever has it. Can't you, or does it have to be given? Maybe it has to be given. You can't, like, steal someone's idol.
You can't steal it. You can't steal it.
But it was given. Cody gave his idol to Jesse. If Jesse just held it, just kept it all throughout the next day, Cody couldn't do anything. And
I think Cody strangles him before the end of the day.
I mean, it'd be like a really tough emotional moment for two really good friends. But Jesse gave us this brutal cutthroat. I'm going to do anything I can, need to do for my family. That would have been what he needed to do.
Yeah.
I think he absolutely should have let Carla go home and held on to Cody's idol, let everyone vote out Cody. And then he has more of this, like, social connection to the Final Four.
That's a tough move. That's like that's like a 2 levels beyond what he actually did in this episode.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just saying there are other options he had. I think the one he took was fun and exciting. I don't think it was the best move for him.
Okay.
For his end game.
We have not talked about Owen and his path at all. Of course, the ultimate underdog in this season. He is in on the plan this time around. Do you see a path forward for Owen?
I do. Owen is very likable. I don't have anybody hating on him except for maybe James and that whole spat. That was fun to watch. I think he has that, like, survival story, right? I never was on the right side of the vote, but I still made it. I had votes, come against me, but I played my social game such that I made Jesse play the idol for me, and really worked my, prowess in the social game to like rise up to the top. I think that he has a real fire, Phoenix type story that he could pull out of his pocket if he made Final Three. Absolutely. I think Owen has a viable path.
Yeah. I think it's going to involve, winning a challenge or two if he's going to get there. He has a lot of friends on the jury, popular guy. To me, Owen feels like the 5th place finish edit. I know we said we're not going to talk about edits, but to me, like, I feel like that's the one that would make the most sense where he goes out at the final 5. But we will see. Okay. I want to ask you about Jeff, who I rewatched the episode earlier today, and I was just really like, there were so many great moments in the episode. I tweeted about this earlier that I felt like that the music was really incredible, especially the music like leading up to Tribal Council was just like a gathering storm that was brewing, and it made it increase the tension so much. I thought that was really incredible. I thought that Jeff, where we've been like critical of Jeff at Tribal Council this season, of like, what are we even talking about? Why is Tribal Council so boring? I thought Jeff was great at this Tribal Council.
Yeah. I heard what you guys had said about it. Yeah, I mean, he's masterful in that role when he's trying to sniff out perspectives on this game, right?
Yeah.
Like I like many people, am tiring of the pontification about Survivor and it's like metaphorical analogies to this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, I'm kind of growing a little wary of that, but I like how he pretends to not know what's going on. I think he says that he actually doesn't know, and he just knows the big things. Like he knows where idols are, and he knows big events that happen. But it is nice to see him be like, oh, interesting. So everyone knows that. Everyone knows that they have idols. How did everyone find out? How do you feel about that? Yeah, that's a really great spot for him to work his interviewing skills for sure, because that gives us insight into game. It gives the players the chance to actually utilize Tribal. And this is actually, let me say this. I don't know that we're getting much in these recent seasons Tribal as a strategy. I think we used to get this a lot back in the day, where people would throw things out, right? People would be like, well, I'm voting for that person and you all should vote for him too, because I have an idol and you're not going to get me. And everyone, you saw what he did, and big news, he's lying to you, and Tribal becomes a strategy. It becomes a forum to try to execute your move. Whereas now Tribal seems to be the place to try to keep your idea really, really hush hush and not tip off anybody about what's going to happen. I would love Tribal to get back to being a tool in the game, right? Where people actually use that moment, that forum, to try to move the vote, or to like sow suspicion, or to, drop truth bombs about things,
Okay. Couple things about Tribal. So do you feel like that has the shot in the dark been in any way responsible for sort of like the defanging of Tribal Council, where that people are not, making like aggressive proclamations about their intentions at Tribal Council, because we do not want to spook the person who is going home into playing their shot in the dark? And that's why, one of the reasons why it's become a much more soft affair.
That is a possibility, but think about the flip side. Like, why can't it be, whoa, Jesse, you better play your shot in the dark, because what I heard at camp right before we left, Carla's coming for you. So if you don't play your shot in the dark, then you're going to go home. Like, why can't we use Tribal Council as a way to try to spook people into making a mistake?
Yeah.
Jesse goes, oh my gosh, maybe that's true. Plays his shot in the dark. His vote is gone. That tips the numbers to a 3-2 instead of a 3-3. You know what I mean? Like, you can actually try to use Tribal Council to try to make people make mistakes and make silly decisions based on paranoia, because you don't know what happened right before Tribal. So I don't know that Shot in the Dark is completely responsible for it. I get what you're saying, that like the drive of the shot in the dark in being a thing that exists is to try to facilitate blindsides, which naturally has to be under the radar. But I don't know. I feel like there's a way to play the shot in the dark's existence in a different way.
Like the shot in the dark, I think it's a double-edged sword. One like the assassin Gabler, could be wielding. I think he's tested an axe. So like on the one hand, it gives us more blindsides in the episodes, but I feel like that everybody sits at tribal council like, no, everything's just cool and normal here tonight.
95%
everybody,
sure.
we're all safe. Like I'm pretty sure, like everybody's cool with the plan and nobody's going home. Like okay. So we get a lot of that. You went to a lot of different types of tribal councils in your season, and you saw a lot of different.
You saying I didn't win challenges, Rob? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But you said you attended like tribal councils where a lot of different issues came up. Live tribal councils. You probably saw like the entire gamut of tribal council experiences while you were in the game, and then also when you were watching as a juror. Do you notice any difference between how Jeff runs the tribal councils, even from the pre-new era to how he came back after the break in the new era and how the tribal councils are run?
Do I notice a difference?
Yes.
I don't think so. I don't feel like I notice a difference. I think he certainly comes to tribal with his metaphor, whatever it is that week. Whether it's a race car or a safari or, whatever other thing that he comes with. And so I think he tries to get that to be a storyline of whatever it is. But I just watch him try to like follow what people are going to offer. Right. So if he asks a question, oh, how do you feel the vote's going to go today? Blah, blah, blah. And someone says something like, well, I don't know. I saw James running around in the forest and he might be paranoid, blah, blah. Jeff's going to go with it. Right. Jeff's going to be like, oh, interesting. So, James, is that true? Does everybody see you running off into the forest? Well, Jeff, just so you know, it's not me. But right. So I just think Jeff's just looking for the storyline or the train of thought that the players are trying to give him. So I don't necessarily blame Jeff too much about how tribals are going. I think it's the players not offering that kind of through line that he's actually trying to get from the players. If they're all just like, Survivor's crazy, you're just paranoid, everyone's running around, I don't know what to do, blah, 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 then what does Jeff have to work with, But if someone wants to use it, if someone wants to be like, well, so-and-so over here has something up his sleeve, I saw him talking for 20 minutes on the beach, then Jeff is going to be like, really? Okay, so-and-so, what's going on there? He'll just go with it because that's where the players want the story to go.
It's been my observation that in the last few seasons that Jeff has had a lighter touch at the tribal councils where I feel like that, and I've had a few different theories about this of that, he's more involved with the casting. He knows how some of these backstories that these people have are really incredible. Whereas I feel like that he was in earlier seasons, even like as recently as back to your season, a little more no nonsense about things at tribal council, and I think he's always just so happy to talk to the survivors, and they're like, oh, tell me more about that. Go on, and so to me, it does feel like a little bit of a different vibe, and I feel like it's not always as productive of a conversation at tribal council. But I really thought that last night's was a good one. I thought that Jeff really challenged the players on some of the things that were being said, and which is what I'm hoping for in that segment.
Yeah, and he's striking the right balance because I think we need him to do that because the players need to be prodded a little bit to give us more of their story, right? And to know that they can actually start to say things. But I think that's a long time trend, though. I mean, I've heard that for a while that Jeff has become more like Grandpa Jeff than he was, like older brother Jeff, where he would tease people and rib them and give them a really hard time and all of that. He definitely cares about the players, or at least wants the audience to think he does. I think maybe you and I both have some insight into how Jeff really is. That conveniently gets cut out of production, but he does definitely put off that he's just like this big grandfatherly figure, just kind of shepherding the kids through this game.
Jamal, I have some questions for you from the listeners here.
Right.
Some good ones. And we can
Yeah.
still talk through anything else in your notes. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Feeling
Good?
great. Ready for some questions. Ready.
Good.
Ready.
Yeah, I'm not used to people talking to people who are standing up. And you're like a boxer. You're like you're moving on your feet. Like
There
this
we go.
is yeah,
Well,
this is good.
this is how I learned to do my Zoom meetings for work, because I feel more animated.
Yeah.
So it keeps me engaged. Not that I have to work too hard to be engaged with you, Rob. That's not what I'm saying.
No, did not. Based off of like how this last 90 minutes has gone, I did not think that you were unengaged.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, all right. Hartley, Survivor Professor Hartley Jaffine says last time you were on RHAP, you had an incredible analogy describing Survivor as a marketplace of ideas and how
Mhm.
some ideas are more valuable than others. What ideas do you think will have the biggest currency in this final episode / final tribal?
Mm. Wow. I love the compliment in the question. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I have to remember what
And
he
the
was.
recall.
Yeah, it was a good recall. Wow. What is the idea that's going to have the most currency? You know, it's going to be, you can beat me or you can't beat him or her. I think
Mhm.
that's going to be very motivating to this particular group. Everyone's thinking about who they're going to sit next to. So much like the way that Gabler worked that fireside chat of like, well, that person's going to have a very similar story to you. So you got to take them out now so you can have a unique story. I think the next version of that is going to be like, well, I'm not a threat because I pissed off so-and-so, and, I can't win because, you have a great story, blah, blah, blah. And so you're going to try to lower your threat level or raise the threat level of the people who you're against. Oh, you can't beat him. He has such a sob story. You know that he's playing this game for his family. He'll do anything. And I know that he has a lot of friends on the jury. Like, oh, you got to take him out. I think that kind of conversation is going to go a long way with this particular group for sure.
Okay. A question for you from Deep Fried Couch wants to know, given that we are nearly 3 seasons in, what are your thoughts on the new casting initiative and how they changed the game? What's working? What could still be better?
I mean, you're going to get me in trouble with the conservative right of the fandom of Survivor here, but the diversity is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely incredible, because at the same time, you can see yourself out there. You can see yourself in people's stories. You can relate to, facing adversity, tragedy, facing, huge monumental successes and moments in people's lives when they're the first to graduate from their family, or they get out of juvie and they have a family, or they, lose their leg, but yet they become an Olympian, or whatever the story is. You're like, I know that feeling. And you can learn about someone completely different from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea the kind of story that NECA brought to the game. She taught me so much, and I don't know that I would have ever encountered someone like her, save for the game of Survivor. And I am very much looking forward to an opportunity to meet her and to engage with her in the Survivor community, and I think especially listeners of this podcast know that Survivor is so much more than just a TV show, right? It becomes a community. These people become part of our lives. I've talked to this community, 5 times in the last 3 years. So I'm a part of it now because I got brought into your world through this game. And why not start to bring more and more diverse stories and lives into this world, so that we can all just feel a part of it. I think it's beautiful. I have no notes. I think it's great. And I'm saying that in a part of the game in this season where there are actually, no Black people, right? Like, they got voted out because they played the game they played, and here we are, so all this fear that was going on and all this backlash about like, oh, now it's going to be race Survivor and now Black people are just going to get to skate by because of the Black Alliance. Has it played out? No, right? It just has made the game more rich. It's allowed more people to see themselves in the game, more diverse applicants. Owen, right? Someone who's applied forever, has Adam Klein told us that he's talked to him on, Reddit many years ago. And now look at him, right? He's now adding to the story and the rich tapestry, right? Of his experience to this game that is the common denominator for all of us. I mean, come on, how can you be mad at that? That's a beautiful thing on its face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a really interesting, a way to see the show go after all of this time. I find that, for all the things we complain about, I really don't hear a lot of complaint. And again, maybe I'm not trafficking in some of the circles that are complaining about these things. I feel like that there are like a lot of complaints about the new era, but I almost never see that as one of the things that people are griping about, at least in the conversations that I'm in.
Yeah, and isn't that a beautiful thing, right? Isn't that a beautiful thing that go figure, right? That when you allow more people at the table, you just connect across those differences more than you see yourself as different.
Yeah.
And you get really good Survivor, right? You like the last guy noted, you get more reasons and more stories and more ideas that work themselves into the game, right? Because people are bringing their full selves, right?
Yeah.
Because people are bringing their full insecurities about what their lived experience was, because they're bringing their paranoia about how people are perceiving them. That plays into all of this. Are people looking at me because I look this way? Are people concerned about me because I don't have a leg? Are people concerned about me because I sound funny? It's just human material, right? That gets played out through this game, and in so doing, brightens our fan lives because we get to enjoy them play it out in their lifelong dream.
Okay. One of our great friends, Baby Andy, wants to ask about how the players keep mentioning the social contract of Survivor. I think Jamal would have a good perspective on this. Should a player be conforming to the rules set by the others in the game, or be purposefully breaking from the social contract in order to stand out and gain respect? The social contract of the season has been mentioned a few different times about how that, and the social contract of the season is, that like, well, we don't respect people who don't put their trust in others, people that are scrambling, people that are like, being a little flaky. And then a lot of times, then when people are, it's a little bit of gaslighting, because then a lot of times the person who's getting voted out, it's like, oh, like, well, this is a season where we don't scramble, we don't, when we tell you something, you should trust us, and if you don't, you're breaking the social contract of the season.
That's such a good question, such a good topic. There are two reasons to adhere to the social contract. One is to not be a target.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have figured out that the fabric of the tribe holds up in high esteem whatever behaviors, whatever that is. It can be being funny and jokey and outgoing and ribbing each other and kind of doing this bro-y insulting thing. And that is glue, right? Or it's being very kumbaya and gentle and be one with nature. And we're just all, around the campfire telling stories. And if you're deviating from that, you're the weird one, right? So whatever that is, whatever you can figure out about the group of people you're with, that's what keeps you in the game, because people see you as part of us, as opposed to that person or those people that are not a part of us and they're messing things up. We need to vote them out to keep us cohesive. That's reason one. Reason two, to adhere to some kind of social contract is to win, right? You're not going to vote for somebody who you think has tragically, massively deviated from what you understand to be the social contract of the game that you've played, right? If someone is really cutthroat, really mean, really insulting, and really angry all the time, I don't want to give that person $1 million, especially if we try to cultivate a different kind of vibe. Absolutely. And the skill of Survivor, one of many, is figuring that out, right? adjusting yourself, your game, to be just enough in line with the social contract where you're not voted out because of it or targeted because of it, and people would vote for you because you stayed in there, but you just enough skirted outside so that you can gain the edge. That sweet spot is what every single player is trying to do. That's what they're telling us in their confessionals. That's what they're telling us with the lives they're leading out there, the actions they take, the decisions they make. It's always trying to balance. I don't want to stick out too much, but I don't want to get picked off like one of the herd later on in the game. And that's why we watch that. That's the beauty, right? Watching players try to do that. That's what's fun about it.
Mm-hmm. And I've thought that the social contract like narrative has really been pushed by the players who like were really in power in the game. Players like James and Jesse and players who did not want too many other players to be like deviating from what the orders were from the other players. So I kind of feel like that, and maybe you could say this is like society too. I think that these rules were, came down from on high because they were to make there be like behavior that was, the behavior that they wanted to see happen from the people that were at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, quick story about Janet. When we were on the original tribe in my season, in season 39, Janet, as we all know, is this like incredible motherly, Mother Teresa type figure. And she can't turn that off. Like, she just was that person. She wanted to take care of everybody and she wanted to make sure everyone was good. And she had this thing where she wanted to do gratitudes at the end of every night. So she wanted to sit down and sit around the fire and go around and say what people are grateful for, their family, or their, being out here with each other. And she just wanted this nice, beautiful, like camp-like experience, which was nice for about 6 days. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, especially when I got blindsided early on in my time on the tribe, I was like, what is this all for? This is fake. Like, this is not real, right? Like, I hate all of you. None of you have my best interests at heart. Why are we doing this? Like, oh, come on, let's be grateful. Let's look up to the stars and be so gentle with you. Like, I was so done, but I couldn't act on it.
Right.
I couldn't act on it because that was the vibe. That was the mode of the tribe at that time. And everyone, whether it was authentic or not, we all were just buying into that just to get ahead, right? And eventually, unfortunately, when Janet started to lose some of her power in the tribe, it was very quickly discarded because another kind of social contract was developing, especially when you mix up the tribes who had a whole different vibe. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a really funny, it's a funny thing because you don't know if everyone else is actually behaving that way, but everyone else is doing it because they all understand that that's the way to get ahead. It's a funny dynamic out there, I tell you.
Okay, Jamal, DTP wants to know, do you think anybody could put up a winning argument against Jesse if they're sitting next to him in the final tribal council? Do you think it's possible for someone to downplay his game as a Russell Hans-esque approach? If so, who do you see doing this? So first part, can Jesse be beaten in the final three?
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I think we have, as fans, really put a lot of weight and a lot of, credit to the players who are making moves, right? You got to move, you got a resume, they did something, right? They have agency over their own game and it was their idea to execute, right? But I can absolutely, because you're talking to the jury, you're not talking to us, right? I can absolutely see someone saying something like, Cody, that's your boy. Mm-hmm. he did that to you after you told him about your family and your struggles growing up and everything. Like, he didn't care about you. You and I had a real moment, and I would have never done that to you. I would have wanted you sitting right here next to me, and all of you on the jury have been screwed over by this guy, and you want to give him $1 million? Some version of that. I think there's a way to try to flip someone's what perceived strength and try to make it a weakness. It's very political, right? That's what you're supposed to do in a campaign. Who can do that? I don't know. I don't know who has the like moral high ground to make that kind of argument. Maybe Cassidy, possibly Carla, but yeah, I don't think Gabler or Owen would go that route.
Yeah, to me, I feel like that if this goes sideways for Jesse, I think that the way it goes sideways is that at Ponderosa, like Noel and Cody start talking. It's like I can't believe Jesse blindsided. I'm like, oh man, like I can't believe he blindsided me. You should have heard what he said about you. Like, oh, what did he say? Like, yeah, he said blah 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 blah. Like, oh, you know what? Like, screw Jesse. You know, I hate Jesse. And I do think that there is potential for no matter what he says out there, where like, oh, Sammy, get over here. You got to hear this. Do you know what Jesse said? And it's possible, like these things, like with, you burn enough people in a certain way, they have nothing else to do all day but to talk about it. They could be.
Sounds like you've been to Ponderosa.
I've been to Ponderosa, and I didn't even really play in a season that had like a particularly bitter jury. I mean, the jury that I was on, we were like, I can't believe these two idiots are at the end. We were all so much better. Like, how is this the final two of our season?
Yeah.
That was the social contract at my Ponderosa. So it wasn't like we were angry at anybody, but it could. I think this happens. I do wonder, do you think that is more likely to, like, as in the group, like the Greek chorus tribal council of like, okay, we're all going to stand up and the group project, as opposed to like each person individually goes up there and asks like, how Jesse, my question is, how could you do this to me, as opposed to standing up there? I think that this jury is sort of like incentivized to be less personal, or the way it's structured is for it to be a less personal decision.
Okay. I will entertain that in my headspace. It's not how I have organized the dynamic of the jury.
You sat on one of these juries, so you would be the expert.
And you know what I found really interesting to observe with this like gang jury style is, instead of the one-on-one, right, when you would go up and be like, hey, when I talked to you in on the path, 3 weeks ago, you told me this, like, was that true? And then someone's like, no, I really cared about you, blah blah, right? And that clearly has gotten too boring for production.
Mm-hmm.
What happens now?
What's my kid's name?
Yeah, exactly. What happens now, though, is the contestants, the final three, are forced to address everybody, right? So when you say something like, hey, jury, I really tried to play this kind of game. I'm this kind of person, and I made sure to play a loyal game. As soon as you say anything that any one person is like, I'm sorry, what?
Okay.
In front of all these people, you're going to try and tell people. How does that work when I was like, so it just invites people to pick apart inconsistency because someone's trying to politic, and individual people are like, that is not my experience with you. And so it's more interesting, actually. I think I like it. It's harder to kind of rely on your individual relationships because you're basically airing out all the particulars of each relationship in front of everybody. So it's challenging. That final tribal is a tough firing squad to come out clean.
We got a question from Instagram that wanted to ask you, why is Survivor like oily tortellini?
You know whose question that was?
I don't know. Who has that question?
Was your question.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Trying to play it off as a fan.
Jamal, give me an analogy.
I don't think Survivor is like oily tortellini. I am baffled by oily tortellini. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why this is a convention in our society. I think it's pretty uncivilized. So that's not how I feel about Survivor. So I think possibly oily tortellini is the opposite of Survivor, as far as I'm concerned.
Opposite. Oh. Okay. All right. How about Adam wants to know, why do you think that Owen and Gabler didn't see this as an opportunity to vote out Jesse and make it their move instead of his? It's been interesting the last couple of weeks where Owen has been brought in on the move and has done as instructed, we see like, and I saw a meme of this today on the Reddit of like, that meme of like the people are in the church and each person has like a gun behind their head, and it was like Cassidy, and then it was Carla, and then it was Cody, and then the sniper up in the balcony was Jesse. But once Cody and Gabler like know the plan, like, was there a move that they could have made?
Yeah, funny that you use that analogy, because I literally tweeted that meme out early in my season, where it was Tommy as the sniper, me, and then Dan, because I was going for Dan. So there was a lot of use of that meme. I think works well in Survivor. Okay, here's my thought there. Remember the reward challenge, right? Remember who it was. It was Gabler, Jesse, and Cassidy, right? As the people who were left behind, who lost. They all voted together. The other three all voted for each other, which is pretty wild, right? Think about it, right? Owen voted for Cody.
Yeah.
Cody voted for Carla. Carla voted for Owen. So what I think happened here is you just happened upon Gabler, the kind of player who makes his plan and he sticks with it. Right? He's not someone who waffles. He doesn't deviate. For his whole game, he would just kind of make a decision, settle in, and that's what he did. Again, incredible Survivor asset. Lovely to play with those kinds of people too.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Gabler has I don't want to say like the strategic chops or anything. I want to say like his style does not incorporate that kind of double stab, right? Jesse, all about it. You tell me the plan, doesn't work for me. I'm going to do something else. Gabler will either do it or he won't, right? And so once he's locked in, I think he's just that kind of player. So he got excited about, executing the plans that have come to him.
It's funny that, we're talking about that meme of, okay, this person's taking out this person's taking out this person. And then we go back to Gabler, the assassin. And this is not the first time he's mentioned being an assassin on this season. Going back to the Noel vote, Jeff asked a question to him, and Gabler was like, "Yeah, these people out here, these are assassins, and they're working with silencers." So the assassin is very much on the mind of Gabler.
Yeah, well, he's a ex-military, so that makes sense to me. It makes me a little uncomfortable, but I get it. Something funny that was happening on season 39 was people started targeting someone as calling the hit. Yeah. They would just like say that casually. They'd be like, "Who called the hit? I called the hit. I'm going to call the hit." And I was like, "Oh, this is weird. Like, I don't like this metaphor."
Yeah.
Calling the hit on someone.
When did we walk onto The Sopranos?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I get what it means, but I don't know. It just made me uncomfortable. So I think he just has that framing in his mind about what this game is all about. And he's not too wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a question from Bryce R2. Says, are even numbered tribals the new time to make a big move? Think about the last 3 seasons. Big votes are not happening, mainly because the final 9 vote is eliminated from the twists. We've seen Shan, Hai, Noel, Danny, Omer, Cody all go home in big moves at either 8 or 6. Do you think that this trend will continue? First off, really from in the modern era of Survivor, really from Kagion on, in the Survivor discourse, we've talked a lot about big moves happen at the odd numbers. 9, 7, 5, even 11. Those are the swings when 6-5, 5-4, 4-3. This is when big moves happen. Even numbers, you could run into 4-4, 3-3. So big moves, the swings tend to happen on the odd numbers. Predictable votes happen on the even numbers. However, in the last couple seasons, we've seen more big moves happen on even numbered votes. Jamal, is there anything to this?
I think we have successfully crossed over into a realm of Survivor thinking that I am not great at.
Okay. Well,
that used to be really intense, really like analytical, historical context. I don't have that. I have my own personal experience. I did not one time think about whether it was an odd number or even number. I just was like, do I go with the votes that people are telling me or I don't? Like I don't know that there's a trend here. Maybe, for those who are really intense about this, but
if I may, I would push back against this, and I think that you kind of have to throw the 41 and 42 stuff out, because as Bryce R2 mentioned, that we split up the tribes at 10, so the final 9 votes didn't happen in any of these modern era seasons. And then we had the do or die at the final 7 in season 41 and season 42. So that took that out as a potential time when you could have seen a big move happen, even though we ultimately did end up having a vote after Deshaun and Lindsay ended up playing correctly. But the players didn't even know if a vote was going to happen at those tribal councils. So this season has been interesting to see the Cody blindside happen at 6, but I think that was more of a factor of everybody was going to play their idol at 5, and we've seen a lot of big votes at 6.
What does the commenter mean about the final 9 being taken out of? What does he mean by that?
So basically, in all of these seasons, that when it was the final 10, we did 2 tribes of 5. So there technically was no final 9 vote in the game. It was basically
it was 2. That's the double boot episode. Okay,
double boot episode, which I've said they should do at 11, which they actually did in your season, as you know,
they should.
Because then you don't lose the final 9 vote to do it that way. But yeah, that's
interesting. I perked up at that number because obviously I remember the details of my experience more than anybody else. But my legacy advantage, or fake legacy advantage, that I wrote when I was under the Idols, I made up that the legacy advantage was only good at the 9 vote and the 6 vote. And I picked that number intentionally about where I was in the game, hoping that would give Dean enough time to, or not Dean, but give other players enough time to grow suspicious of Dean and try to get him out before 9, which was the 2 votes that I thought I had left. So yeah, that final 9 is a critical time for sure.
Okay. This is from how about Deep Fried Couch also asked, I love seeing Jesse articulate what the actual prize would mean to his life and his family. It's something I don't usually feel when watching Survivor, the real stakes of winning or losing $1 million. His confessional was among the most visceral in years for me. Is that an often discussed topic on the island that the edit avoids, or simply not something that people are discussing on a regular basis? Did you feel like you knew this when you were out there of what the money would mean to people?
That is such a good observation, and I do think that there is something about Jeff and production that wants to downplay the impact of the money. I think they want it to just be like a game. They want to just like, win the game. You're the sole survivor. You're, just out here trying to win because, you're like, you love the game and you're just trying to play the game. I think they really like that storyline. And I think somehow they have this attitude that playing for the money kind of cheapens the experience. They're trying to make it this,
because it's not about the money, it's about the experience.
That's right. And I can understand what they
from this show, the social contract of the show. Yeah.
From the social perspective. So I mean, it is. I think I had the same exact experience as the commenter. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesse, for putting this into some real life context. Like when I was out there, I didn't think about the money too much, just because I was very distracted by the game. I was distracted by my survival. But after I got out and looking back at the decisions I didn't make, because I was so invested in the social element of the game and not having $1 million afterwards, I was like, damn it, I should have just did it. I should have just taken the L, burned the friendships, not cared so much about those people, so that I could be talking to you today $600,000 richer than I was when I left that game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that should have absolutely been the tact. And, you know, when Cody talked to you this morning, he explained to you that I just didn't have it in me. I didn't have it in me to backstab Jesse like that. I would have never done that to him just because it wasn't a character trait of mine to be able to do that. And I absolutely get that. I had an opportunity to try to convince Janet to play her idol for me, my vote out when I was going out. She found the idol before my tribal council where I went home and we talked about it. She told me that she found the idol. And I was just so genuinely excited for her and her journey and her being able to play that for her own benefit in the game, just because I cared about her as a person. Silly me, you know, with $1 million on the line. And talking to Janet after the game, we talked. She told me, like, if I had suggested that she play the idol for me, she absolutely would have. And I regret not pushing harder on that because that would have been an incredible game move that I just couldn't execute because I was so caught up in the social dynamic of the camp life out there. And advice tip number 45 for future players. It's 26 days. Like, you're going to be fine. Do whatever you have to do. Jesse has it absolutely right. Win this game.
Get that money, baby.
Get that money, baby. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just I mentioned at the top of the show, like I was like I have a strong emotional connection to, you know, watching you know, Jesse play, just like you know, as a dad, you know, thinking about like what it would mean to go out there and, you know, you have a family back home and get those letters and everything like that. So you know, I do feel that, you know, emotional connection when I watch Jesse play the game. But what's really magical about like what the show did and really what Jesse was able to articulate is that had this move been in the hands of another player, that you could imagine somebody else making this move and you would hate this person. That you would walk away from the show and being like, oh, what a bastard. Like, how could he do that to his friend? What a jerk. I hate this guy. And I don't want to speak for everybody. I feel like almost nobody came away, maybe Cody. No, but I'm joking. But almost nobody came away from the episode feeling that way about what Jesse did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a combination of two things, right? And you had this discussion with Steven last night where a villain is a villain mainly because of the way that they talk about their classmates, right? If they're like, yeah, this loser, I'm gonna, you know, blindside him because he's so stupid, then you don't feel sorry for this person, right? And you hate that person for, you know, hurting what you might think is a good person. The fact that Jesse struggles with it and tells us that he does, he has no reason to, right? He has no reason to tell us when his confessionals. He could just be, you know, robot and just tell us what his strategy is, and that's it. But he gives us his true person, which is, I care deeply about this man. Like, we had a real friendship, and this is really tough. But I now have two competing emotional interests here. And I'm sorry, my family wins every single time. And who among us can't relate to that? And then the second thing is, I forgot it. I lost it. One was how we talk about other people. And Cody. And Cody just being so chill, right? Like, if Cody was like crying, or he was like really super angry, or was, you know, truly devastated by this thing, then I think we'd all feel differently. But like you said, we had that handshake at the end, and he literally said, "You have nothing to apologize for." So that gave us permission to see Jesse's move as a smart one, because he was able to do that and not suffer, you know, the social consequences that we all might suffer if we had backstabbed someone that severely.
Jamal, do you have any thoughts on the state of sportsmanship on Survivor and where it's at in the modern game?
You know, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with what everyone is able to do. I couldn't do it. I took that game so personally every single time. I mean, 6 days in, I got blindsided and I was ready to throw bows. Like, I was not into being blindsided and just being chummy and like, oh, it's just a game. I felt insulted. I felt absolutely devastated by breaches of trust and being lied to and being treated, in ways around camp that I didn't appreciate, right? Like it was real to me, and maybe that was my downfall, is that Survivor was too real while I was out there. So the fact that these guys can get voted out and dap up each other and hug and all that. I mean, when I got voted out, I didn't say any word to anybody. I just was like,
Yeah.
I am out. And clearly there was something a little more intense about my tribal
Sure.
council for sure that added to the tension. But I certainly was not about to,
Yeah.
zap up anybody because they wrote my name down. Like, get out of here. Miss
Yeah.
me.
And so I have had the distinct pleasure of being voted out of the game twice. The first time, I would say that I was a very good sport about the whole thing. Despite it being, much closer to the win, I had felt like, okay, well, this was really, I got much further than I ever expected to. And, what are you going to do? This was an easy decision to, I understood the reasons why I was voted out of the game. When I returned to Survivor, I was not a good sport about being voted out of the game. I was blindsided at the first tribal council that I went to, and I had a very poor sportsman. Am I a bad sportsmanship? A very negative reaction to being voted out. Like I am mouthing the F word on television, and I'm not somebody who normally is doing that type of thing. I was just like, are you effing kidding me? Like I was furious that happened. I was not about to shake anybody's hand.
Understandably so. And I would love for the fans to be a little more forgiving or a little more like understanding about that. I feel like our instinct is to ridicule people who get too emotional at these kinds of things, but you got to understand, like, you are the protagonist of your own story out there, right? You are having very real emotions. You're having real heartbreak. You're having real disappointments and embarrassment and shame and all the things, so to be like, haha, he got, he's crying. It's like, come on, man. Like, who among us wouldn't break under such intense circumstances? So I think we need a little more leeway for the survivors as they're going through that experience for us as entertainment.
Yeah. But I do feel though that the show has really like cultivated like that there is like, okay, no matter what happens, like you get up, you give everybody like almost nobody goes out of the game in a particularly like I think as salty as anybody gets is like Ellie this season. I like see what happens when you trust Gabler. Like that's probably like as bad as it gets nowadays. Like there's
how much of that though is just saving face, right? Like I feel like some people might want that persona of being a little more lighthearted about it, but not wanting to look like a jerk.
I have no doubt. Like, I mean, a lot of the players last season went out and they were like, oh, like you got me, good game. Like, but I'm sure they were like furious when they got back to Ponderosa.
Yeah.
So
no, you're not gonna get that from me. I'm sorry. I'm just I'm not built that way.
Good. Yeah. Don't be fake at tribal council. Jamal, this is a question from Guy Harvey too. This season has included some very creative usages of advantages. While the advantages themselves are not new, we've never seen them used in these particular ways. Is there something about the new era that accounts for this, or is this cast just filled with super high caliber players?
Yeah.
We saw the vote steal used in a very interesting way by Noelle to steal her allies' vote to blindside James. We saw not even the knowledge is power, but basically the threat of the knowledge is power used to ultimately take out Cody. Is this that these players are so good and have nothing else to think about all day?
That's it. I was just literally about to say that. I was like, I mean, you all can be super creative if the only thing you're thinking about is that advantage burning a hole in your bag or pocket or shoe or your hair or whatever you're keeping it. When I had my idol, I thought about 1,000 ways that I could play this thing. And I actually came into the game prepared to actually not play an advantage for myself. Like I wanted to find a really creative way to play an advantage. I don't know that it was like about my game, but more like how fun is this? Like I just get to do something really
Mhm.
cool, you know? So who wants to just be like, "Oh, I think I'm an I think I'm the target. Let me save myself with an idol." Obviously that's good for yourself to get forward in the game, but like you start thinking about, oh, well, if I know the vote is going on that person, then I'm going to save that person and they'll be indebted to me. And then I'll find, you just think about all kinds of crazy scenarios. So I think these players are just have a lot of time to think about all the crazy ways that they now have the power to shake up the game. Kelly is a perfect example from my season.
Yeah.
She found the idol. It was good for 2 more tribals. She didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
She didn't have to give it to Dean to play the idol to get Jack out, but she just wanted to do something fun with this really powerful thing in the game. So I think it's just these players being like, what can I get away with this powerful advantage,
Mhm.
you know?
I think a lot of people forget about that. That was such a fun week on the podcast where we really there was a lot of debate in the Survivor community. Like, was that a good move or was that a bad move that Kelly made to get Jack out? And that was kind of like this week where I feel like that there's not as much debate actually about the move that despite our conversation.
I'm debating.
Yeah, that's what this is great. I love it. But that was like one where it was kind of like a 50-50 thing where, some people felt like, okay, Kelly made the right call, and other people felt like that Kelly did not make the right move.
Yeah, well, clearly I have my opinion about that.
Yes, yes, for sure. Okay, but that's like what's great about these Survivor episodes when we can come away with different thoughts on what the players should have done. Okay, couple more questions for you. Mac 1014 says, would the Island of the Idols concept work better in the new era instead of going to the island to get an advantage? Idols or coaches, for example, Mac 1014 sites can help give advice to the players on how to use the advantages they already have.
Oh, huh. So kind of like what Steven did when not Steven,
Cochran?
Cochran.
Yeah.
Wow. I apologize for that, Steven. My bad. And
Mhm.
Cochran, I apologize to both of you. Cochran did, yeah, for sure. I would
Steven
love.
will not take any offense to being thought of as Cochran.
Okay, good. I'm glad
That'll be a compliment for him. Yeah.
yeah, I would love that. I would love that. I've shared this opinion with many people. I think Island of the Idols was a little too invasive of our game, right? It was cool concept, great to see Rob and Sandra and all of that, but it was just so much of it was so central to what our season was that we kind of didn't get to play our own game. This is what I love about watching these last few seasons. Like nothing else is coming into play, like sure the advantages are different and weird, but it's the players doing it right with what they have. So yeah, I would love if there needs to be some kind of incorporation of past Survivor icons and my phone number is such and such, but
Mhm.
definitely I would love to see some advice given lightly, maybe once or twice, but not to be like the complete theme of an
Yeah.
entire season because we didn't sign up for that, right? We
I
signed
don't
up for our own
disagree.
brand.
Yeah. You know what? I think that it was fun having Rob and Sandra in the booth at the tribal councils. If you put two people like they're watching the tribal councils, we're getting to hear their feedback, and then maybe there's like a reward challenge. Like we've been watching you the whole season, and like we're here to give we'll give advice to we'll give the winner of this reward challenge. Yeah,
Excellent.
the advice.
Love that. Love that.
Especially these pre-merged tribal councils, you could spice it up a little bit. You have, some people that have good commentary in there, and then be able to make the tribal councils have a little bit more punch.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that's
Why
actually
not?
the best idea. It is a
Oh,
reward to talk to a past survivor, to gain advice, to go off to the sanctuary and meet with so
where
and
good
so.
things happen.
Yeah,
My
that can
son
be.
said to me, "Dad, why did Jeff Probst call it the sanctuary where good things happen?" I was like, "I don't know. That's
No
it's
idea.
news to me. I don't know."
I mean, apparently it was pastries and coffee. That's the good things.
Did it bother you, Jamal, that is pastry and coffee not as good of a reward as they got 2 weeks ago when they went to the sanctuary, and I feel like they had like a much more savory meal.
Well, they're really phoning it in with these rewards. And I think it all started on my season, to be honest. Like since when was peanut butter and jelly like a reward that you're gonna like sweat and tumble over things and put your body at risk and just for peanut butter and jelly? Like, come on, you got to put a little more carrot at the end of these things. I feel really bad because I remember some lavish rewards in Survivor's Past. Like, we haven't gotten on a helicopter in forever. We haven't had like go into town and have these incredible experiences. Like they've shifted the budget, is what I'm observing. So yeah, I'm disappointed in pastries and peanut butter and jelly and such.
Did you know about that the survivors were able to go back and pick other rewards from earlier in the season if they don't like the reward that they're given?
I did not know about that.
Yeah.
No,
Nobody did.
Is that a thing that the players can do?
I get that. That's what happened earlier in the season where Noelle was like, actually,
Oh,
we're going to
that's
get the
right.
reward. We're going to take this other reward.
I forgot about that. Right. And Jeff just offered that like it was what.
Yes, of course. This is we all know this. The survivors.
Yeah. You can get later for that mess. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. So then we get our stupid coffee pastry and be like, no, can I get the tarp, please? Can I get the bucket of tools? Like, what am I gonna do with peanut butter and jelly? Yeah, that is nuts. Yeah, no good. Good.
Jamal, are you not normally a PB&J guy?
No, I love PB&J. Love it. I grew up on the stuff, but I'm starving. I'm like toiling out here in the hot sun, putting my body in more positions and risk than I have done in the past 10 years for peanut butter and jelly that I could have gotten in my lunchbox when I was 6. Like, come on. We need a little bit more. At least Applebee's. You know what I'm saying?
At least Applebee's. Okay. Jeff Sen Comedy says you were the first victim of the Beware advantage. Why hasn't anyone learned not to open it since then?
Carla was so close, right? It was Carla who almost didn't take it.
Yeah, she almost didn't take it.
She should have not taken it, although she wouldn't have had her idol right now. But it's inevitable, right? At some point, someone's going to find the Beware advantage, leave it there, and bring someone else to it. Know that they have it, maybe even like read it with the person, but not incur the consequences of the Beware advantage. You gotta leave it alone. You have to. It is a Beware advantage. Like, stop risking your game this way. It's too early. You don't need it. I would have never taken it. I would have never taken it if it said Beware on it. It said, take me, I'm yours.
Yeah. Okay. Jamal, big question for you. Were all the idols on season 43, the Beware advantage idols, were they all, in fact, cursed? Look at what happened to everybody. It said Beware.
Yeah.
People did not listen. They took these things and look how it went for all of them. Go back to Cody, okay? Ultimately taken out of the game. Why? Because he has this idol taken out with the own idol that he found, played at the tribal council where he went home, setting off the chain reaction of events where Carla, who has had a major target on her back the entire post-merge game. Why? Because she had the Beware advantage idol. And even poor Janine, Janine, who was somebody who I guess ultimately was a target even after she lost her idol. But that it was one of the things that, like, how that when Sammy says to Gabler, hey, by the way, they lied to you about that. It was one of the things that really accelerated the feud between Gabler and Ellie and Janine. And then ultimately, what happens to Janine's idol? She gives it to Dwight to hold. He gets voted out, but not before handing it off to Jesse. And I wonder, like, this cursed idol that Jesse holds in his possession, you don't think the curse could come to him next, do you?
I do not. I'm not someone who believes in cursed things. So Ghost Island was a funny season. So no, I don't think it's cursed. I think we are playing a game now. We like we're all out there, where it if you don't keep it completely close to the vest, someone is going to figure out a way to use their knowledge about it to their advantage, right? So no one knew about Marianne's idol. No one knows
And it
about
wasn't a beware advantage. All the
right.
beware
Oh,
advantages
you're
are
saying the
cursed,
beware advantage
maybe.
specifically? Well, that's interesting that you say. Well, because wouldn't you consider what Tony got to be? I don't think it was literally called a beware advantage, but it basically was something like you lose your vote until you're able to gather
Mm-hmm.
all the tokens or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? And he did it. And guess what
Yes.
happened to him? So I don't
Yes.
know. We can't.
But
We
he
can't.
really had to work his butt off when they were going to what was it called? It was let me see if I can get it before the chat gives it to me. That they were trying extortion
Yes.
advantage. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
That
oh my God, the extortion advantage.
one.
And then he was read that they were trying to extort him. He was very upset about that.
That's right. That's right. But I think that was the combination of my advantage, quote unquote, which was
Mhm.
my advantage, and
Yeah.
his has now become the beware advantage. But this
Yes.
is what I always say, though, right? Like advantages need to be hard to find, easy to play, or easy to find, hard to play. So all the beware advantages are easy to find; they're right there. So that's why you have to really weigh that risk. If you find these things too easily, it's going to be hard to play.
Okay.
And it should be.
Jamal, we've talked through a lot of things in our conversation tonight. You have said you do not like the move that Jesse made at the final six.
I think was a better move to be
There
made.
was a better move to be made. So I would love to hear from you what you think the outcome of the season will be. And will this bad move or this suboptimal move that Jesse made, will it cost him the win?
If I'm just watching the gameplay, I think yes, it will cost him the win. If I'm watching the edit, I think maybe we're getting set up for this like ingenious survivor player winner situation. I would be really disappointed in Owen and Gabler and Carla and Cassidy if they can't pull off a fifth person boot of Jesse, especially if he has the idol. I'd be really disappointed if he gets brought to the end, if he wins immunity, and if he's allowed to win fire. I'd be really disappointed because they should all be very, very wary of sitting next to this man at the final three.
Yeah. So let's answer this in two different ways because we can talk about the edit side of this as well because that the case for Jesse and I think the case against him is that okay, well we've seen so much Jesse, but I think the case against him in terms of the edit is that I feel like that there has not been like a winner with like this much attention on them throughout the entire season. Really, I don't even know who the last person that it was that we saw so much of their perspective throughout the entire game.
Well,
I know
go ahead.
I know people are going to point to say Tony, but really Tony did not have a ton of airtime through like the first 10 episodes. And then in that episode that we're talking about, the extortion idol episode, then Tony's airtime like exploded. I think that Tony had like 18 confessionals in one episode and then never looked back. And then it was like kind of obvious that Tony was going to win the season. But really, it was not obvious like 10 weeks into that season.
Okay, here's where I think the flaw lies in that logic. Everything that we're seeing has already happened. The producers know it, the editors know it, Jeff Probst knows it, right? So wouldn't you think that if Jesse wins, this is exactly how they would tell his story, right? Like they don't want to fake us out like that, right? They don't want us to like Jesse is doing amazing things. You think that if he won, they would hide some of the amazing things that he's done? I do not.
It's a good question. If you have like this great content that Jesse's giving you, would you try to hide it to make a win that was inevitable seem less obvious?
No. No, I think the answer is absolutely not. I think this is exactly how Survivor would want to tell a winner's story. I think they hated that they needed to tell us Erica's story the way that they did, because it seemed like that's all they really had of her story, and she just won. Perfectly, skillful and deserved because of the things that she did. But I'm just saying, I think they want to tell a winner's story the way that they're telling Jesse's story. So if he wins, it would have been all towards him getting this glory edit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're telling us Jesse's story like this to fake us out because it's actually Gabler. You know what I mean? Like I think they would spend a lot more time on Gabler and his strategic insight and moves and all of that, because that's how they want to tell the winner story. If they don't tell us it that way, it's because they didn't have it. It's because it didn't play out as amazing as it was, as some other people's stories.
Okay. So Jamal, I'm looking for a name for the winner of season 43.
Oh my gosh. I hate doing winner picks.
But there's only 5 people.
I know.
You could have been on early in the season, and there could have been like 13 people.
I'm going to say Owen.
Wow. I love the bold call.
I think Owen is the winner. I think we are getting the story that Owen offered us about his experience out there, and it's going to be one of those, I didn't know what was going on. It's going to be a Fabio win. It's going to be one of these like
long hair,
stay alive. I was always on the wrong side of the vote, but people kept pulling me in, and right in the end, I had the relationships, I had the connections to pull out the W. I think Owen's my winner pick.
Okay. Do you want to be so bold as to call the other people in the final 3?
The other people in the final 3, Gabler.
Yeah.
Gabler and Cassidy.
Give me Cassidy. Yeah. That is the scenario as we get ready for the finale on Wednesday. That is the scenario to watch out for. The Gabler, Owen, Cassidy final 3 of that could go any of the 3 ways. That could be the most wide open tribal council. That could be like a 3-3-2 final tribal council.
Yeah, and we haven't had that in a little bit, right?
I don't think we've ever had that.
Zero vote goat for a while.
So I don't even know if we knew what would happen in a 3-3-2 final tribal council. We have the 8-person jury. So a 3-3-2 final tribal council, we've seen what would happen in a 5-5-0 tie. We don't know what would happen in a 3-3-2 tie. So hypothetically, okay, 3-3-2. So say it's, 3 votes Cassidy, 3 votes Owen, 2 votes Gabler. And say that the 2 Gabler votes are Cody and Jesse. Now, do they say, all right, now do they single out? Okay, so to our people that voted for Gabler is now off the table. You can't vote for him. And then does Gabler also get a vote then? Does he go into like Gabler? You are now the 9th juror, and you and Jesse and Cody will all vote for Owen or Cassidy. And then we'll go ahead and then Jeff will read 3 votes.
You're just speculating, right? You don't
I'm
know.
speculating. Yeah.
I think it'd be more fair.
Sounds pretty good. I like what I'm coming up with.
Sounds good, but you also but you need to reveal the mechanics around revealing who you voted for is a little bit awkward, right? Like if you voted for Gabler, do you need to reveal that you voted for Gabler? Here's what I feel like.
Well, I think that Jeff would say, okay, all right. So we have, this is a Survivor first. This is 3-3-2 tie. Okay. So the 2 people that voted for Gabler, could you raise your, it's not a secret. It's the final tribal council.
No, I think it would be more like all 9 of you can vote again.
Now, so Gabler gets to vote.
Gabler's eliminated. all 9 of you vote again, you can change your vote.
Or does Gabler just get up and go cast the winning vote? Owen or Cassidy, Gabler, you cast the winning vote, like a Laurel situation.
Yeah, like a Laurel situation. I mean, that would be less exciting. I would love a revote with Gabler as a participant, and I love the juror who maybe voted for Owen to have the opportunity to maybe change his mind when confronted with an Owen Owen Cassidy runoff, because that's what all of us get to do. We all got to vote for Senator Warnock and Herschel Walker.
Well, only if you lived in Georgia. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I felt like we were all Georgians a couple days ago.
Yeah. They get to vote so many times. You're so lucky if you live in Georgia.
So no one stopped you. Just because you voted for the third guy doesn't mean you're the only one that gets to vote for the other two. Right? You just get to do it again.
Do you think that there were any people that changed their votes in the runoff?
Maybe. I mean, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I would think about it though. If I was on the jury, I'd be like, I get to vote again. Maybe I should change my vote. I don't know that anyone would do that though. I think your vote is, you take your vote.
I was just talking about Georgia. I wasn't talking about the Final Trial Council.
No, I do not
swing
think
voters. It would be very interesting. That would be exciting. I just noticed that I have not seen, and it's early on in the week, we're only recording this on Thursday, any sort of promotion for the 3-hour show. I know it's 3 hours. I have not seen them describe it as the finale and reunion show. And please, somebody correct me if they have. But my sense is, and this is just like my Survivor senses and based off of no factual information, I feel like that we're going to see a very, very scaled back reunion show from what they did after season 41 and 42.
Scaled back from that?
From what they did. Like if we get that at all, I feel like it's going to be like 5 minutes.
Really? Oh, I hope not. I would love to hear from all these people. I would love to see them do a Zoom reunion. Like I just want to hear.
Yeah, sure. I would love that too.
After they've watched the show, that's what I feel like we've been missing.
Yeah,
this like reunion after the final tribal thing is not doing it for me. Like I want them to have lived their life and like have seen the show that we saw and like give us their reaction.
Right, because like who cares if like at the final tribal council, like all right, so Cody, have you forgiven Jesse for what he did to you 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Like, no, you want to hear from Cody now.
Right. That's exactly right. And this is why your exit interviews are so interesting, right? Because you are getting them right when they're
now, right. It's not like so like let's talk about what happened 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. especially because you're not sure if everyone knows everything, especially the contestants who are still in the game. Right, they're getting things revealed and like, what? You had the idol? You did that? I didn't know. Like let them all get context. Let them all talk to each other and like heal their relationships because it's not all kumbaya out there.
And you can't even talk about things like Noelle. Like, what's been the reaction from like the people that are watching the show?
So inspiring.
So it's like, you're sort of very limited. Like, I just felt like that they were such like nothing burgers, although, or nothing slices, if we're going to keep on board with the pizza from what they did in 41, 42. Right. I can't imagine they spend as much time on it here again and do it. But we'll see. That I just I don't recall seeing last night them describing it as like, and stick around for the like reunion show as well.
Right. I'll have to check in with my contacts in the Survivor world to see what's going on.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on. Okay.
But I would like that. I would like us to return to the reunion experience.
It would be great.
Yeah.
All right. Jamal, anything else from your notes or anything else top of mind for Survivor or beyond?
No, as we usually do, you being the adept, agile host that you are, you get us onto every topic. So I've shared all the wisdom I can muster, I think.
Jamal, how was your first year in the Rotten Coconuts Fantasy Football League?
Well, that's a cruel question, Rob, because
Is it? Because
you know how I've done, and it has been
I do. Well, it can't be worse than me, Jamal, because I have had just like heartbreak after heartbreak where it's been just a disaster of incredible proportions. Every single thing that has been
yeah.
it's been David Murphy's law for me. Everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong.
Yeah, this was a tough one. I don't know. I'm in 3 different leagues and I am crap at all of them. And different players. It's not like I'm like all Giants fans, or all Giants players. Like I'm just across the board of just
Hmm.
terrible combinations and bad luck. I had Dak Prescott and all the
Hmm.
people who've gotten hurt and all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There was something about the season for me didn't work out. But I
Yeah.
will say, and I will tell him to his face, I got a bone to pick with our commissioner.
Commish. Yeah.
The commissioner has some weird rules in this league that I don't appreciate.
What's the weirdest rule?
Well, you can't just claim people off the waiver wire.
Yeah, for auction budget. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Every single waiver is an auction.
Yeah.
Which
Exciting.
means that, on
new era.
No, I hate it. Absolutely not. Let's not go there. I don't want that to be the future. Because on Sunday morning, when you find out a player of yours is inactive, you need the flexibility to just grab the backup, grab someone off the waiver, and you have to go through this like 2-day auction, who has the highest bid nonsense. And it doesn't make any sense. Like that just ruins the ability for you.
Yeah, it is a little tricky. The waivers are at 11 a.m. and then sometimes the inactives get announced at noon, so you can get screwed on that. So just in terms of the Rotten Coconuts Fantasy Football League, 14-team league, you're looking at the 2 of the worst 3 teams. That Jamal is 3-10. I'm 4-9.
Yeah.
The only team worse than us, she was on a business trip for half the season and didn't set her lineup. So it's been ugly. It's been ugly.
Yeah. So this is not a reflection of my passion for the game and my
but
general.
We know so much. It's I don't understand how this happened.
When you have like 13th pick in a 14-team league, that's tough. It's hard to make a good team out of that. No excuses though.
Okay.
Next year.
We'll get them next year. Okay. Jamal, where can people keep up with you?
Oh man, honestly, Rob, as you have like witnessed my evolution on social media, I am unplugging.
Okay.
I mean, you can still find me on all the things. I'm still there. I still get the notifications on my phone, and I'm very voyeuristic on the social media scene. But there's something weird about our country, our world. That the social media has just become a really strange landscape that I rather not spend too much of my brain cycles investing in. So I've really unplugged, this whole Elon Musk nonsense. I'm like, okay, well, I'm all the way out now because this is the end of us, I think, as a society.
I think that you have so many fascinating perspectives on everything, and I'm most of the way there with you on the social media. Like I personally I enjoy like the Twitter for like a lot of different things. Like I think I would miss it personally, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I am not rooting against it at this point.
Yeah, it's changed though. That's the thing is like. I mean, I think I'm a little younger than you, I think. And I like.
I hope for your sake you are more than a little younger than me.
Well, I was in college when Facebook started, like the beginning, like the very.
So was Mark Zuckerberg.
That's true. And Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook for 3 colleges, one of which I attended. So I was literally on Facebook at the very, 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 very beginning. So I just grew up with this thing as it exploded and hopped onto all the things, did the Instagram, did the TikTok, and now I'm there. But I just have really felt like social media has like left me, you know what I mean? Like it left my like my desire to engage with that many millions of people at any one given time. And now it's just gotten to the point where like the only people who ever really talk on there are people who want to disagree with you and cut you down. And I don't know, it just lost its luster for me.
Yeah.
And my generation, like my people don't really post, they're just telling me about their marriages and their 2-year-old kids, poop last night. And so I'm like, all right, well, I think that's the end of that for me.
Yeah, that's it. I love it to get feedback on the podcast and like connect with like so many different people. I mean, over the course of of like really the podcast kind of like coincided with like the really like growth of Twitter.
Yeah.
I know we're so far off the beaten path from Survivor, but you're 2.5 hours into this, so you can stick around for this. But really, like, the Twitter really started to get off the ground like 2008, 2009, and started to like have like a critical mass in the early 2010s, and that was the same time that I started this podcast. So it was a much more like intimate medium where you were mostly like just connecting with people you knew through Twitter, and then it grew and became like all sorts of like this insane thing that it is now. But I think it has like outlived its usefulness in terms of like what it's contributed.
It's morphed, right? It's morphed. And my partner says this really well, where they say like everything is not for everyone all the time, right? Like if I just want to post something funny about my sandwich that I made last night, I want to tell like 20 people maybe. But with the social media, with the way it's set up, it's like everybody gets to just have their own interpretation, their own take, their own judgment of me and my life choices.
Well, I don't like that sandwich.
Yeah, like who do you think you are?
That sandwich sucks.
Yeah, don't you know people are starving in other parts? And it's like, guys, I'm just trying to live my life, okay? Like just because I post about my new car doesn't mean I don't have an appreciation for the fact that everyone can't have a new car. It's like it's weird. It's a weird like place that just tries to make you feel bad about existing, and I just have stopped investing in that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will always remember Jam Man K9 fondly.
Yes. Well, he's still there. He's still there. So you
still there. Yeah.
Jamman K9 on Twitter, Jamman K9 on Instagram, Jamal Shipman on Facebook.
Okay.
And TikTok. I'm on TikTok, just lurking about.
Oh, okay. No content creation on the TikTok.
No content creation. Well, I can't compete with the great Lauren Ashley Beck, so I won't even. Sure. I mean, she's the
who can
queen. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Jamal, I always look forward to our conversations. I hope maybe we could chat offline sometimes too.
Oh, I didn't know you were accessible that way. I thought this was the only way that I could get your attention.
No, I think that you are such a fascinating guy. I love to hear your opinions on things, and so I would love to be able to just chat sometime and just like get your like offline opinions on things.
Amazing. All right, awesome. I will take you up on that. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, that would be incredible. All right. So for everybody else, first off, thank you for sticking around. This is incredible. I think this is the longest podcast of the season that we've done. So yeah. Great job on that. The time flew. So we had a great episode to talk about. We went through a lot of stuff. I still have a feedback show to get through with Mike Bloom. Get to robswebsite.com/voicemail for that. And then we're going to do Survivor Academy this weekend. It's Alex G joins me. We'll get your Survivor Academy questions for some takeaways from these last couple of weeks. And boy, there was a lot to learn from how these last couple of weeks went on Survivor. You can go to robswebsite.com/academy questions to send your questions in. But that is a patron-only podcast, the fourth part in our Survivor Academy series for Survivor 43. And then, of course, we had amazing race recaps of the finale. Talk to the final three teams. Jamal, do you watch The Amazing Race?
I don't.
That's okay.
Yeah, I have a
lot of shame you.
A lot of friends who want to get on The Amazing Race. Yeah, so it's a great franchise, great network.
Yeah. Okay. The great CBS network.
The great CBS Viacom.
Yes.
I just want to plug. Mike Bloom was the very first Survivor journalist I ever talked to when I played the game. So I feel very connected.
He picked out the idol you found, correct?
He sure did. Sure did, and I appreciate him. I apologized to him for not being able to play it well, but I do appreciate his artistry.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us here for a really fun podcast. Jamal, thank you for making so much time for us. I always appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.